Sunday, so it's a great day to do so. Yeah. We've done exposures, which is really exciting. And I know she'll say, it's not very exciting. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. Okay. So we're planning on that. For some sort of planning for next year.
Yeah, we have.
Hopefully I'll.
So it's golf last week?
John was like off today. Someone waiting for.
Say, there are clubs in it, very nice.
Well, yeah, I know you like it.
Yes.
Remember you had. Don't overdo it. I like to pull out these, so you try to shoot it. The spring leg. Yeah.
She said, okay. And this is Lois, he is the volunteer president of our community, yes. Yeah, they live in the southern block of Fourth Avenue, there's a house there, so it's like a parking lot. It's very great. You're so glad.
Between actions of that.
But I know this.
I looked at it too, I got to touch base on a couple of these sources.
Drive by.
Yeah. So good.
I like the great. Saturday.
I say. Yeah, in Ridgewood, yeah. You sang out well, yeah. 9:30 Friday.
Yeah, see. Very good. See, my wife grew up around here. That's what we. Because like, when we do the adoption, when the states are stuff like.
Environmental.
So, I like, we do it about.
We do it very much so to. Yeah, you give her 5 pages of years. So my, yes, right, there's next whole paragraph here on a sentence. They look and say, hey, nothing. Nice, oh, there's something you don't want to do, that kind of thing, so it's just easier. And then somebody, how do you do it that way? Somebody should be able to like red line, accept changes and it's done. But I mean, like, so actually not do, it's like to cross out the X's. So I think that's what this is. Underscore that. I think that's how much that's just later.
That's why I just hope like it's a big step now. So you know where it's.
Yeah.
Probably should do that, especially somebody.
This is smart.
Yeah, or, I mean, I can do, I have it.
We had,
Appreciate
Nice to hear what you started on that. So the next one's in sixth grade. There's another heading.
The agenda changing.
Yeah. So I just put the title of special parties on there. I accept it, so I sent it to all of you. Okay?
I had little notes in myself, so I just want to make sure.
Do you need me to copy that? Did you need me to print that out for you?
Actually, they sent it for everything.
They got it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but I'll print that, I see that out.
Yes, we did. I used to read that grade class, went into eighth grade. My friends did that.
Duty, right?
It's interesting.
How are you doing? She just mentioned that, you know, he was talking to me and how he's driving.
Yeah.
Do you have time later this week for a quick phone call? So you can meet you, Matt Doherty. I want to tell you about the residents saying last meeting, I'm gonna do 2 million for, yeah. From the. Just wanted to talk, because they called me, they were working on some stuff that I didn't know.
Different stuff that, you know, like, you know, other sources, there's stuff not being shared with borough. They somehow,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if they know.
About certain properties, and I just want to verify with you guys how viable that actually is, because it, on surface value, seems like a good idea, but I'm sure it's running on, so.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, if that's your question, is that. Okay, I was. When are you thinking you're going?
Thursday and Friday would be good. Like later in the day, probably afternoon.
You know what? Let's agree on some just fix me, look, the only reason I'm interested is not babysitting grandchildren, but
Okay.
I should know the breakaway.
Okay, and if not, we can do Monday, Tuesday of next week.
What was, because let's text me when you start to figure out your calendar. We'll give you another time.
Yeah, and then maybe Matt Doherty, I'm sure he'd know more about like the financials and things like that. But
Financials,
just, you know, yeah, just like what it looks like using that.
I was talking, you and I sit down for 3 or 4 hours.
Okay, okay, well, I'll just text you with that. Touch base.
There's other things to do, Al. And that was the first mistake.
Oh, I love it. Let's do that.
This way.
Thanks, guys.
Any questions? I think I got you. No. I did get the lineage agenda, once I saw her exactly new agenda, but so 37 is the.
Updated agenda. Nice data.
Well, I've seen that. But.
Thank you.
John, you want to pay what it said?
Whatever you got. And, that is. You go out.
Send us, right? Okay.
You probably think so.
It's easier to have. It's out.
We gotta see where she's.
Friday. And it's like, I don't want to.
I know, I don't want to send it in our.
I know. Thank you. You're welcome.
We don't know We're not.
Oh, it's tough.
Well, you do that?
Gave up, they just died. That was my usual. So, they just started
So
talking.
you're not, you know, when your video might come out.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really like, you know.
I made this name, but you didn't use your script. No,
Oh, sorry, I was.
I don't know.
Call this meeting to order, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wish to announce that the 48-hour notice is required under the Open Public Meetings Act, was emailed to the Asbury Park Press, the Post Star, and the New Poster on December the 19th of 2024. That a copy has been placed on the bulletin board in the borough office and that a copy has been filed with the municipal clerk. Please be advised, public attendance for meetings through Zoom is a courtesy only. If for any reason Zoom fails or is disconnected, the in-person meeting will continue without interruption and action can and will be taken, providing that there is an in-person quorum. Mr. Noble? Here. Ms. Greenblatt? Here. Mr. Nowicki?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have an interesting agenda. We'll get to that in a moment. In that we're gonna have two workshops and I'm hoping we're doing these workshops to make sure that the public hears us deliberate. We're not necessarily making final decisions, but we have some pressing issues. We want to make sure we as a council address them, consider the pros and cons. We want you to hear us address them and we welcome your feedback. So I think that'll be an interesting part of the evening. Before we get to that, however, I want to make a quick announcement that anyone who's interested in end of last week, Friday, end of the week, Eric, our clerk, posted an agenda, and that original agenda included an ordinance amendment that was labeled 2025-37. It related to affordable housing and overlay zones. We will not be discussing that tonight. In fact, I asked the clerk to remove that item from our agenda because it needs more work. We put it on the agenda last week thinking we'd be in position to get through it. We're not. We will address it at a later date. So tonight we will not be talking about the original 2025, God bless you, 2025-37, related to affordable housing. Instead, our clerk has given us a new 2025-37, which we will discuss. I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Now, before we get to workshops, one other thing I'd like to do, we have some special guests here tonight. And I'd like to, God bless you.
Oh.
And I'd like to make a motion to move to presentations and bids, which is right now item 6 on our agenda.
Second. Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes, Council President.
Okay, so tonight we are going to be hearing about the incredible work being done at the Bradley Elementary School in a presentation entitled A Small but Mighty School. We have two presenters, Dr. Heidelberg, our superintendent, and Dr. Franks. But before we get started, I would like to recognize a few people. And if I say your name, can you just give us a wave? Because we have a lot of people here from the school that work hard, and I just like to recognize them. Noel, I'm gonna start with the board members. The Noel Weinberg is here. Felicia Saki. We have Kate Salzuti. We have April Davis. And we also have Liza Flynn here. And we also have Tracy Davison. She's the president of the Bradley Beach Elementary Foundation. And she's in the back there. Education, what did I, oh, thank you. I'm so used to seeing BBES, Bradley Beach Elementary School. Okay, and then we also have Melissa Butler, who's also with the Bradley Beach Education Foundation, and she's also on the PTA. And we have some of the people from the mentor program, which is under the BBBES. We have Paula Gavin, and we have Barb Kenny is here, and also Shauna Greenblatt. Thank you guys for all your work. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce everybody to Dr. Elizabeth Franks. She is the president of the Board of Ed, and Dr. Heidelberg, who is the superintendent of the Bradley Beach Elementary School. Take it away. So Erica, will you be doing the
No.
presentation?
Michelle?
Oh, okay, that's
Usually does the trick.
Well, maybe she doesn't know what we skipped right to. Oh,
Here you go. She got it. It just takes a second.
Okay, thank you. So Michelle is not in the room, right? So
That's
we have
correct.
to- We have to verbally say, go to the next.
Yeah.
So we want to thank the mayor and council for this opportunity to be able to share with the community about our small and mighty school. You know, I've been in town, I've been a homeowner since 1984 and full-time resident for the past 10 years. And for many, many years, I used to always tell my family, Bradley Beach is the best kept secret on the Jersey Shore, right? Like not many people knew about it, but we all knew how wonderful it was. And I don't think we can say that any longer. Hey, we've got a lot of publicity and now it's become a destination. We feel the same way about our small but mighty school. This is a little hidden gem in this town that we feel that many people are not aware of. So we really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share with you all the wonderful things that are going on at the school. And really what we're hoping to do is invite you into a conversation, a two-way dialogue. Do you have any questions? And we'll at the end give you a place to contact them. So if you could go to the next slide. This is just a glimpse of what's happening in our school. So you'll see students, you'll see teachers, and it really is a family atmosphere. I mean, I think if you talk to anyone who goes in that school, you can feel it when you walk in the building, that family, that community that exists. So this is just a few pictures there. And if you could go to the next slide. So as the Board of Education, and I want to just thank my colleagues for coming and supporting us because we really are a team that works well together. And we had a goal this year because we felt that maybe there's not this public understanding of our school. We kind of are in this little bubble that, you know, we want to get out of and make sure we share with everyone. So that was one of our board goals this year, to really improve that public understanding of Bradley Beach Elementary School. So we have 5 goals for this presentation. You know, who we are, what we do, why it matters, right, to all, not just the families of the students in Bradley Beach, but all residents in Bradley Beach, why it's important to everyone. Of course,
what it costs, because we know that's an issue all the time. And finally, why it's worth it, why it's worth to support this small but mighty school in town. And our goal is simple. We want to really ensure that every resident knows about this gem, this hidden gem in the heart of the community of Brighton Beach Elementary School.
Next slide, please.
So this is our Board of Education, so you see many members here already. But this is really our overall commitment to you, to the community. Our goal is that we want to promote student success. That's very important to us, that our students are well-rounded and ready, while remaining fiscally responsible, because we know that we appreciate the tax dollars that go to support our efforts. So those are our two overarching goals that we always keep in mind: student success, fiscal responsibility. And that comes down to every dollar counts and every student matters. So that's really what we abide by as we go through the year.
Next slide. So who are we? So we are a school district that has about 300 students, right? But 200 of them are at the elementary school. That's, here in Brennan Avenue, here in town. And 100 students or so go to the local high school. So that's important for all of us to remember, because we are financially responsible for all of the students in this town, whether they go to our elementary school or our high school. So our high school students are included all the way through high school graduation. In addition to our tuition students, into our students, we also accept tuition students from outside the school district. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well when we go on further. Next slide, please. So speaking of the high schools, we figured it was easier to show you, like, where did last year's class go, as opposed to discussing all the different high schools. So the reality is that our kids have the opportunity to go to high schools throughout the county, both public and private. In this last year's class, we had a number of students that went to RBR, which is Red Bank Regional, the engineering program, the finance program. We had a number of students go to the county magnet schools, for example, MASS, which is on Sandy Hook. Also the Allied Health Academy. We had multiple students come to these various schools as well. To Neptune as well, we sent our students to Neptune, as well as a place called Poseidon, which is a school that is part of the Neptune School District, but you will get your associate's degree when you also get your high school diploma. And the important thing to note here is that out of all the students that came in our class last year, 69% were accepted to and are attending a competitive high school. In other words, they had to apply to get into these programs. Something that we're showing how we're preparing our students to meet those needs when they get to high school. Next slide.
Can I just say, when I moved down here, I have been in education for a long time, and I was really more involved with a pre-K to 12 system. So when I came down here and saw that whole menu of high schools, I thought, oh my God, our 7th graders are like juniors in high school, because they have to, look at all these options that they have and try to figure out what is the best fit for them. So it really is that opportunity that they make that connection with how prepared am I and what do I want to do with my next chapter in life.
And who are we? We are the teachers, and then we have 34 dedicated teachers and specialists that serve our kids pre-K through 8. 85% of them hold multiple certifications. And in a small school, that's really important, because it allows us to provide programming in various different areas. For example, in special education and general education. I know you want to talk a little bit about all the different certifications we hold.
So Dr. Heidelberg is a great example, right? So he's been introduced as the superintendent, but he's also the principal of the school. So he's / superintendent principal. Our supervisor of special services is also a social worker for our school. Our director of curriculum and instruction, she wears many hats. I probably couldn't give all the different things that she does, but wherever there's a need, she fills in that gap. Our our business administrator is our board secretary. So it's almost like everyone in our school wears multiple hats. And that really does allow for some of that flexibility. We have teachers who teach multiple grade levels. Our first grade teacher is also the family liaison. So if you work at Bradley Beach, you can expect that you're not just going to be doing one thing, but we really encourage and we really support it. It really helps us to have that student success when we have teachers with multiple certifications.
It allows us to provide different programming on a lean budget. Next slide, please.
Lean budget, I want you to.
So a little bit about our instructional program. We have a core instructional program that mirrors most any school, which we have obviously instruction in ELA and math and those things. We have targeted support, everything from support for special services students to gifted and talented students. We have full day preschool for 3 and 4-year-olds. We have no waiting list, by the way, which is good. We just opened the 3rd pre-K class this year because we want to make sure we can service every kid in our community. We talked a little about college and career readiness. We have to start now. As Dr. Frank says, our students are juniors when they're 7th graders. They have to really be prepared for high school because they have to apply to the various high schools. And the important part is that we offer a full academic program that actually mirrors a lot of larger school districts. We offer a lot of different programming, again, on that lean budget, while we're trying to make sure we're servicing every student.
Can I just put this targeted support, when you see all these different things, that's where our every student matters. So even though we're small, we have children with special needs. We have gifted and talented children. We have multilingual learners. So even though we're small, we still have a vast array of different students. And that's that targeted support where we say every student matters. We make sure that there's some program that's going to support whatever the needs of that child, are, that we're going to be able to support them.
Next slide. So just take a look, when we think about what we offer, think about all these extracurriculars. I mean, look at that list, and this doesn't even include the PTA support in the 3rd and 4th graders that have clubs and activities. And so again, this goes back to what we were saying. With the small school, we still have a large array of offerings for our families.
And what's interesting to me about this is that kids really get to explore all of this before they get to high school. They get to try on all these different things. And because the flexibility, so we have teachers who have some of the clubs, they meet at 8 o'clock in the morning so the kids can play sports in the afternoon. So it's that type of thing that the school, again, being small, they're able to do those types of things. And I'll take, so I have 4 grandstands who are currently in school. I have 1 who graduated and is now in one of the high schools. But my 6th grade grandson, he plays on the soccer team, he's in the band, he's in student council. If you're in a larger district, he may not be able to do all of that. They may have to choose sometimes between band or sports, right? It's not something that you're able to do. But because we have all these offerings, these kids are exposed to all these different things. I met someone right in the beginning about the environmental club that's going down and working at the beach. It's just what wonderful opportunities the students have here in Bradley Beach.
Next slide. So we have some signature programs that are actually really special to Bradley Beach, and especially in a small school. One of them you may have heard about is the two-way dual language program. Right, so this is a program that's usually offered in a much larger district or in an affluent district. Basically, a two-way dual language program is that students who grow up speaking in one language, in this case Spanish, and another group of students who grow up speaking maybe at home English, they basically are in the classroom together where they learn in both languages. So the English students learn Spanish, the Spanish students learn English. It's called a two-way dual language program in pre-K and in now this year in kindergarten as well. And what that does, you'll look at the academic research, it shows that your brain just lights up when you learn languages at that age. So the more that we do that, we have some of our students who speak English at home now speaking, really great Spanish, singing songs in Spanish, and the opposite as well. So we are really pushing in on that. That's been a great addition to Bradley Beach in the last few years. We also started our very first, or most recently, an autism program. And we do that for 2 reasons. One is we can help service the students in the school, but also it saves the taxpayers a lot of money. For example, some students that may have certain special needs, they cost the district up to $130,000. That's just for tuition. Doesn't even include transportation. But by having our own program that we control, we can hire people, we can provide the services for a little bit less of a cost, or a lot less cost. Again, keeping in mind what our budgetary needs are. So we're servicing the students again and hitting our budget priorities. Obviously, talked a little about some other things. As well as our AVID college and career readiness and phonics initiatives that we have. These programs, as I said, save our students, give our students great programming, but also save us some money. Thank you.
So we actually, just to highlight that two-way dual language program, as Dr. Heidelberg said, it's very unusual for a small school to offer a dual language program. And this is something that we are extremely proud of. And as a matter of fact, a local realtor had shared with us that he actually rented a place to someone who came into town who came because we had a two-way dual language program. So we're really, when we talk about, we want to attract families to Bradley Beach, like that's one way that hopefully we can bring in more families. So I think that's really important to blow our own horn, that we're doing something that is extremely special and extremely unique.
Next slide. So why does all this matter? So next slide again, thank you. So Brown Beach Elementary School is a small place, so every student's name is known. We all know each other's, all each other's knows each other's names. We really push not just on the academic growth of our students, but also the social and emotional growth. Our students are precious. We really care, make sure that they do very well in such a small, inclusive community. And we are not just saying that, we're actually certified as a kindness certified school the last few years. So we're continuing to do those things, to make sure our students feel safe. Next slide. But so how are we doing, right? That's the end of the day, the results matter, right? So let's take a look. In the last couple of years, I'm sorry, next slide. So take a look at our work in our ELA proficiency. In our language arts proficiency in the last 4 years, we've gone up 61%. That's been our increase in the last 4 years. Next slide.
Can I just interrupt, because we were, want to make sure, NJSLA, that is the state assessment. So the state tests all the students throughout the state of New Jersey, so that's the NJSLA. So this is the data from that test from our 3rd through 8th grade students who take that.
Correct. In mathematics, we've seen a 55% increase in math proficiency. So again, making those big gains that we need. And next slide, please. And in science, we have a 323% increase over the last 4 years. Now, I did check with the math teacher, check my math, that is correct. But obviously, we are improving on that. And why does that matter? Next slide. So again, we want to make sure that the results tell us that our students are leaving Bradley Beach Elementary School prepared for high school. As I just showed you before, 69% of our 8th graders are getting competitive programs. And that's what these results, why that matters.
So we had a strategic planning session, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. Many of you may have been involved in it. And one of the things that the presenter asked us to think about is think about the end of this strategic plan. And Time Magazine comes into the school. And what would you like to see on that cover? So this is the cover we created, and it says "Breakers Turn the Tide." And picture. So we're halfway through our strategic plan. So we're hoping in a few more years that Time Magazine comes and really does this, because it really is something that we have been very focused about in looking at how do we make that happen. So this part is about the student success that I said, one of our goals is student success. So now we're going to
Next slide.
into the school finances, right, and the fiscal responsibility.
Next slide. So the reality is that as you pay attention to the news, I know you know that school funding is being cut. And in New Jersey, specifically our district, we've lost $662,000 in state aid since 2015. Right, that's a lot of money for a small school. But we have mandated high school tuition. Sometimes the rates went up. I think the rate in one of our high schools went up 17% in 1 year, the tuition rate, where we send our students to. Sometimes out of district special education needs are very, very high and very, very costly, and those things are things we can't control. Transportation is required for every high school student. Remember, they can't just walk necessarily to a school in town. So we have to provide transportation for our students. And all know about the inflationary times that we live in, and there's been a lot of increases, especially in health insurance and other things. These are realities that we're dealing with, that we have to. But the reality is for us to kind of understand that some of these are mandated services. We don't have a choice but to provide them. We have really no choice but to provide some of them. But delivering quality education does require dollars. Next slide. So it's important to know that we really do this as much as we can, do more with less. We try and do with the amount of money that we spend, try and make sure that every dollar is accounted for appropriately. We use the bank cap to manage costs. We talk a lot about shared services. I want to thank our council for approving the shared services recently. The borough and us are now sharing lawn care services and other services as well as you go along. And we want to thank the borough for that. But we're always looking for shared services. We have shared services with Belmar School District. We have shared services with about 4 other school districts in a consortium to spend dollars so we can get things together. So we belong to a number of those consortiums as well. But sharing services with Keyport School District on pre-K. So we share services with a lot of districts, and trying to keep our costs down, but still be able to have access to those services. We also do as many competitive grants as we can. I've become a really really good, grant writer with the help of ChatGPT sometimes. But, it's really helped us, we applied for a lot of grants, we get a lot of grants. But you may have heard, we got the brand new boilers, thank you to, the community members that have brought that to us, brand new boilers, that was 300 and, I can't remember the exact number.
Yeah, it's over $350,000.
Right, that we got as a grant, right? So that's important as well. We just got an $86,000 grant for our playground. So we continue to look for opportunities to get grant money to help offset those costs for our taxpayers. Also, we're not just saying that, right? We have 10 years of what they call perfect audits. In other words, there's no findings in our audits, more than 10 years now. So we are being fiduciarily responsible for what we're doing. And as we talked about before, we do use our staff strategically.
So, this is, as I mentioned, our business administrator. So between our business administrator and our superintendent, they are wizards. Like every time they go to present the budget, it's like, how did you do this? How did you take all those things that we just talked about into consideration? And yet we still have all these wonderful services for the students. Last year when the auditor comes and he said he loves to come to Bradley Beach. And he said, I have an audit with no findings. We're like, that sounds kind of boring. Like in educational terms, does that mean an A plus? He's like, it means an A plus. I'm like, okay, we understand that. What are no findings? So we really celebrate that's something when we talk about fiscal responsibility, that is something that, again, kudos to Mr. Tanzola and Dr. Heidelberg, that somehow they're able to, with all of these constraints, they're able to make it work.
Next slide, please.
So I'm sure many of you received this letter, and so when I received this letter about, where do our taxes go? These are the county taxes, these are the school, the library, so I really just highlighted and honed in on municipal, and no offense to municipal. But what we found is that our school taxes have been lower than municipal tax, at least for the last 5 years. And that is not typical. So if you go to other towns, lots of times you're going to see that school taxes are actually higher than the municipal. That's a typical graph that you would see. So it is something, again, that we want the public to be aware of, because we count every dollar. We maximize. We have, again, folks who are being aware of all this, that we've been able to accomplish this. We think is pretty incredible.
Next slide.
So one of the things though, because, back. Right, that one.
Back, yeah.
Sorry.
Michelle, can you go back one?
So I'm sure we've all heard it. We in the school hear it, right? Oh, why don't they close the school? That'll save our taxes. That'll lower taxes. Why don't we consolidate with these larger districts? That'll be better for us. And we hear it, and that's probably one of the reasons why we make sure we're very fiscally responsible, because we love this school, and we just think that we are providing a first-rate education for the students in Bradley Beach. And so that's why we work very hard at making sure all the things that we're doing to keep us solid. So core costs will remain, right? Consolidation will solve all our fiscal challenges. So as Dr. Heidelberg explained, all of those things, again, we still have those same 200 kids with the same needs. So even if they go to another school, if we're still going to be spending money, we're going to have to pay tuition to that school. And as Dr. Heidelberg mentioned, we have no control over what tuition is set. So this year we were a little surprised at the increase that we're told about. After we were already trying to build our budget, and then we were told, oh no, there's an increase now in high school tuition. So we have to be aware of that. We don't have any say in what those schools will tell us what the tuition is. And that a larger district will take care of all our needs. And again, we are so passionate about making sure that our kids have all those opportunities. As you saw, the clubs that are offered. We had 25 kids come out for our soccer team, our boys soccer team. We're like, wow, these students want to be engaged, right? They want to be a part of what's going on in our school. And the other piece of that though is, so if we go and we merge with another district, we lose this local control that we passionately take responsibility for. And we might have one board seat on the board of 9. So we're not going to have much of a voice in what gets done, right? What gets said. And so that's something to keep in mind. Taxes will go down, and perhaps they will, but there is no guarantee because of what we've been talking about, the tuition, the transportation. We send kids to other school, now we have transportation. Those of you who live in town, I'm sure you see all those little kids and families. I drive my grandkids to school every morning. You see that we are a walking school district, which is another great reason why we have safe routes to school. because we are a walking school district. So we save on transportation because of that. And of course, if we have children with special needs, we are obligated and morally and legally to take care of those students. So what we've really put our energy into, instead of looking into consolidation, is the shared services. How can, we are actively always looking with the borough, with our neighboring towns and our neighboring districts. How can we share services so we're reducing that cost, but we're still providing those programs, that enrichment that kids need, right? We want to do that both and, not either or. And that's really what we're looking for, focusing on those shared services.
Next slide. So we like to say we're small but mighty. One of the things is we have a historical building in the center of town.
And yeah, and that's something that I think is precious to many of us here in Bradley Beach, you know, as we just experienced losing a historical building. We want to make sure we recognize that our public school is a beautiful old school. And we take great pride in that facilities upgrades, making sure, I don't know if any of you saw the posting about the cafeteria floor this past summer, you know, how we're really always trying to make sure that that building is stable, safe. The boilers that we did is something. And so again, thinking about how do we maintain that? We just did a facilities assessment and we're in the process of what are the priorities? How do we maintain this beautiful building that's in the center of town?
And so we've been recognized outside by various different organizations. We just talked about the state Safe Routes for School, and thanks to Chief Arnold who's over there and the whole town and the Recreation Department for helping us get those recognitions. But we also have been recognized for our college and career readiness program with Abbott. We've been recognized as a sustainable Jersey, as the town is as well. And we've started presenting at other places because some people are like, what's going on in Bradley Beach? And they want to hear about it. So presenting now at outside places as well. And for me, as someone from a large district, we just talking to someone from who has lived in a large district, I taught him for many, many years. Where Academy Community School just allows us to be more flexible. And so many of you are out there representing various organizations in town, from the Historical Society, to the BPCA, to the various different places that we have relationships with, and we can do that in a small school. That's really something that is really special about Bradley Beach Elementary School, that we are flexible to work with community groups. And so if you have a community group and you want to work in the school, let us know. We're always looking for that. Next slide. Don't worry, there's only 42 more slides.
We're actually down.
Yeah.
Why it's worth it, right? Why is it worth it that this town, this Bradley Beach community embraces our little small but mighty school? We have outstanding student outcomes, and I know I don't want to embarrass Dr. Heidelberg, but he has really done a tremendous job in the 4 years that he has been here. And it really is due to his efforts and with the staff that we've been able to turn the tide that you saw on that frame. And so it is about the outstanding student outcomes, the high school readiness, so that we efficiently use the taxpayer dollars that we are afforded. Because our goal is to build a stronger, more vibrant Bradley Beach community.
Next slide. So when I first came here, someone had said to me, like, remember that at any given moment in Bradley Beach, there are more residents at the school than there's anywhere else. And it's the heart of the community. Physically, it's the heart of the community because it's kind of in the center of town, as well as, you know, it's kind of the heart of the community in a lot of the organizations and a lot of the work that gets done. So we want to make sure we remember that for us, and we believe that very strongly. We want to still be the heart of Bradley Beach. We do prepare our students, as you saw, you know, we're preparing them academically, we're preparing them socially and emotionally for the future. We're also protecting your property values too by spending efficiently. We feel that very, very important. And together we're trying to build a brighter and better Bradley Beach for all the residents, especially the kids.
And so we want to thank the council for inviting our students, because you see, they may be taking your seats when they came here to the government, a global picture.
And the final slide.
So we look forward to continuing this conversation. We feel, remember, this is our Board of Education goal. And if we go.
Sorry, next slide. Last one.
And so this is the beginning, not the end. So we hope that we can continue this conversation through small focus groups. Here's some information if you would like to ask us questions.
So every year we have our night at the museum, we open our schools to the whole community, people that live across the street. So I've never been to the school, I've been here the whole time. So please come out to our open house that we had in the spring. And, during the Jazz Fest, come and see the school and so support our Jazz Fest and the community there. So thank you very much for our time. Thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you both for being here. I do have to mention that there is also another Bradley Beach Education Foundation member here who was instrumental in getting the grant for the furnace, the boilers, and his name is TJ Cohen. Okay, but yes, thank you for that. And thank you, everybody, for being here. The Board of Ed, PTA.
Dr. Hesberg?
vendors.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Thank
Sean
you.
has a question.
Yes.
Dr. Heidelberg, I just have a question because we're all, and first of all, thank you for this wonderful presentation. We all appreciate, the commitment and the work that you put into this school district and the connection that you've made with the community of Bradley Beach. It's very apparent. And the concern of the school size, do you foresee strategically drawing tuition students because of the two very special programs that you've created within the school?
We do have some tuition students already, and we hope to continue to get more. We do draw them from our surrounding communities, including Neptune City, including Neptune as well. So we are, certainly looking to continue to draw students and when we, spread the word with the innovative program we have, if you guys know people, we're certainly accepting tuition. Students obviously depends on the class because certain classes are larger than others and we can't displace any other students. So yes, we hope to continue to get tuition students by building programs that kids want to be in.
I mean, the autism program, was that just started this year?
That this is the first year of that, so we can, over time, once we build that program out, we could certainly accept other students from other districts, especially smaller districts like Belmore, Allen, places like that, where they also, we need to work together and share services. I hope I answered your question.
No, I mean, these are critical things, I think, that can be very strategic in terms of Bradley Beach not losing its elementary school.
Absolutely, we have to keep bringing our kids in and making sure they're there, so thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thanks
Jane,
again.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's it. Yeah,
All right.
great job, guys.
Can I make a comment?
Okay, we're not letting you leave.
As the person up here that actually sent two kids to the school, I don't think I knew what to expect at all. It's the neighborhood school, so it's fine by me, but it was really an exceptional experience. The real thing, if you get to go to a graduation, I know we get to go, if any of you out there, if you get to go to a graduation, I mean, just tell somebody that you're some kid's grandparent or something. You can get, you will know, you will see the difference and what these folks are talking about, how it's really special and how there's just everybody knows every kid in that school and well. Just a couple other things. I think there's a lot of hard work. Yes, very good. There's a little bit of luck. And we're lucky that David Conzola decided to stay in our school district. The business administrator was mentioned, but this is a man, he could tell you where every single dime is in that school. And we're just so lucky to have him. It's really great. As far as wearing multiple hats, you know that the mascot, the seagull? Just letting you know, like many hats run steep, so really seriously appreciate it. You got, my kids thrived and are doing great in high school, so that's.
So thank you all. Thank you to the many folks who earlier raised your hands, just identifying yourselves as volunteers who support the school. It's a wonderful community enterprise, so thank you.
And you guys are dismissed if you like. You can stay if you like, but you don't have to stay for the whole meeting because you enjoy, unless you want to stay, you're more than welcome.
Okay. Let everybody file out.
Okay. Right? They're allowed. They can stay.
All right.
You did a little school talk there with the dismissed.
Okay, thank you, Council President, for organizing that particular presentation. We now make a motion that we move to get back in order item 5 on our agenda of the workshop.
Second.
You don't have to make.
Okay, yeah, okay,
You make a
good.
motion to reverse it, so.
Okay.
Okay, good. So we are going to move to item 5 on our agenda. As I mentioned at the start of the meeting, our goal tonight is to deliberate in public, so we want you to be active participants. Council's gonna explore some of these ideas, honestly, for the first time. I've talked to individuals one-on-one. We have not met as a group, of course. And the first topic on our agenda is beach lockers, and let me tee this conversation up a little. Without getting too detailed, there's state statutes basically that have created law that we all follow, referred to as the public trust doctrine. And what that basically means is we, Bradley Beach, and our government, our governing body, we are the custodians of the beach. We don't own the beach, our residents don't own the beach, our taxes don't go to pay for the beach. We just have to take care of the beach for all of New Jersey. That means anyone in the state of New Jersey can go use that beach as long as they pay for a beach badge. They can use the bathrooms, and our residents have to pay the same dollar amount for that beach badge to use the bathroom in the beach. So conceptually, everyone has access, and we're not allowed to even make a profit. These are self-liquidating utilities. What that means is at the end of any period of time, the revenue we collect should more or less come in to offset the expenses we have. We do build a surplus, hopefully over time, and that surplus is there as a cushion to make sure we don't lose money. But the goal, generally speaking, under the public trust doctrine is that, and I have said this in public for a number of years, that everyone has equal access. Now, I have also understood that to mean everyone had equal access to beach lockers. Bradley Beach has beach lockers. A large percentage of our total lockers, I don't know the exact number, it's roughly 400, 450 lockers. Close to half of those lockers are actually leased or rented, or whatever term you want to use, by non-residents. And again, under the concept of the public trust doctrine, that's the way it should be. You don't get special privilege for being a Bradley Beach resident. Residents in town brought to our attention this year that other boroughs actually do favor their residents. So we've asked Mr. Cannon to help us better understand what we can and cannot do if we were, I'm underscoring the word if we were inclined, first of all, if we were able to differentiate in favor of our residents, then the second question is, would we want to do that? There are pros and cons to this, financial issues around moving that revenue and the cost out of the beach utility into our current fund. I don't want to get too deep into all that now, but I think what the council would like to do is just understand from Mr. Cannon what we can and cannot do. And then to the extent there is some flexibility, I'd like us to be able to discuss the pros and cons of whatever those options are. So, Mr. Cannon, can I put you on the spot to educate all of us?
Sure, so you guys are all familiar, I've talked about the public trust doctrine here before, you're generally familiar with it. There's a progeny of cases from the 1970s that essentially govern what you can and cannot do. The most famous one is really Neptune versus Avon, which has to do with beach fees. You have to charge the same fees for access to the public beach, which belongs to everyone in the state. But the general public, I should say, because out-of-state visitors count too, and have protection under our laws. So in Neptune versus Avon, it basically said the Supreme Court originally said that the municipality could not discriminate in any respect between residents and non-residents. And then there were a number of cases that shaped that. Two in 1978 specifically were Van Ness versus Deal, which had to do with the use of Deal Casino and the beach that was roped off for Deal Casino, which remains a natural beach, right? It's not man-made or improved in any way. And then there was the case of Highland versus Allenhurst, which had to do with man-made facilities at the beach, which obviously the beach lockers are man-made facilities at the beach. And since then, there's been other cases, and most recently there was one about parking fees at the beach and just essentially discrimination between residents and non-residents. Getting to the beach, parking, I think it's hard to argue in New Jersey, parking is a necessity of getting to the beach. So notwithstanding that parking is a man-made facility, can't discriminate between residents and non-residents with parking in proximity to the beach. Saw that recently. I think it was in a town around here, the case escapes me, but that was more recent in the newspaper. Going back to Highland versus Allenhurst, one of the main questions in that case was bathrooms. So if you have bathrooms that are they're already there at the beach, it's a man-made facility. Do you have to provide equal access to bathrooms? And the answer is yes, because that has to do with public health. You have the facilities available and you can't discriminate between residents and non-residents. But the Supreme Court has never required things like beach clubs or things that are only open to residents. Man-made structures are only open to residents that are not necessary to visit and maintain the public trust doctrine of visiting the natural open beach that belongs to everyone. So thus far, bathrooms are clearly, if they're available, then they must be open to everybody. I think we had a discussion here one time with a bathroom that you know is open to everybody. Which some people liked and some people didn't, but that has to be the case. These beach lockers fall into an ancillary. You don't need to store your things at the beach to enjoy the public beach under the public trust doctrine. And the Highland versus Allenhurst case distinguishes between other man-made features and narrowly holds its view to the bathrooms and necessary appurtenances, which I mentioned before, has now been expanded to parking. But there's no legal duty for a municipality to provide everyone with a place to store their items under lock and key at the beach. And so you can see in surrounding towns, as it was brought to your attention by your residents, like Avon requires you to be an individual listed on the tax rolls of the borough of Avon and or a year-round renter of the borough, AKA a resident, to access their beach lockers. There's a number of other towns that I could list and go through, but suffice to say, the courts have never held that this sort of amenity, which is also maintained by our DPW. They move them all around. We store them all year round, not on the public beach, right? We pull them off and put them on municipal property that's owned by the taxpayers of Bradley Beach. And so I think that you can limit them to residents like the other towns surrounding you if you choose to do so legally. You know, there's a legal impediment to doing so. As the mayor pointed out, there's a number of practical considerations, but legally you can restrict the lockers to residents. There's no requirement you provide non-residents with a place to store their items at the beach.
Great. So folks have said, I chatted with the mayor of Avon about this. One or two of our residents have said, there's also some issue related to the terminology we use for beach lockers. Should we, if we were to change our policy and be able to, and if we wanted to, provide favorable process for our residents, do we have to actually call beach lockers something different, boxes or some other terminology that others have told me that? I just want to understand the background.
They call it a beach box in Avon, but I think that Asbury Park calls it a locker, and Asbury Park's only open to residents as well. I'm not sure of a distinction in that language. I would definitely track those other municipalities have a substantially similar, very simple locker ordinance that I would follow. I wouldn't try to overcomplicate it and create yards to pull apart if that's the direction the council wants to go. I would follow people around us that, you know, Avon's, as I just mentioned, I mentioned Avon twice in the cases, in the case law. So, you know, I'd follow their lead. I wouldn't try to reinvent the wheel here, is my point.
And also, to be clear, one of the things that got us to dive deeper on this, the residents who brought this to our attention identified Avon as a borough or borough municipality that exclusively provides lockers for their residents. Belmar provides lockers for all, but they give a discount to residents. So again, they're distinguishing in favor of the residents, but if we were to go in this direction, there are grades of favoring our residents that we could consider. So with that said, other questions for Mr. Cannon? John, please.
Can I make a comment and then I have a question?
Yeah.
Or not? So, you know, we've been hearing about this for a while. I am personally not in favor of making it so only on residents can get lockers and probably not even changing the price for residents. Note the case law was really famous in my line of work, the one that Greg mentioned, Avon versus Neptune, meaning that Avon people paid one price to go to the beach, and those folks from Neptune, they paid a different price. Avon was on the wrong side of that. Now it's 50-year-old case law. I'm not 100% sure they'd be on the right side of this one, and I'm gonna throw one other kind of a curveball into this, Greg. There's also case law that replenished beaches are public beaches. It's actually another Monmouth County, they're all Monmouth County, all these cases. It's Lou versus Long Branch. Guy thought, well, you know, I own down to the water and you replenish down to here, so now I own all that. And the, you know, state Supreme Court said, no, that's not how it works. Replenished beaches are public beaches. So the Army Corps, we found out they replenished our entire beach. And from the water's line all the way back up to the bulkhead, they put sand. And if you're the Army Corps, I mean, we may think of it differently, but they think it's their sand, like it's their project. So we need special permission to do stuff on their project. We built dunes on that project, and then after Sandy, they said, we're coming back, you gotta get rid of those dunes, and we had to undo what we had did post Sandy in terms of building dunes. And then another example is this bulkhead extension. This goes back many years, but to do what we want to do to extend the bulkhead further south past Third Ave, we need a permission from the Army Corps because we're kind of putting this thing on their project. They said it's okay because it's actually providing more protection, you know, so they're fine with it. My point with this is if somebody feels like challenging this in the sense of, you know, it's just another set of rules where because it's public money, everything has to be publicly available. I mean, this is how we beat back the crazy parking rules they want to put in Deal. Said, no, these are replenished beaches. These are, you can't have special laws of that favor residents over non-residents. So I just worry if it goes that way, that there's like this other layer of them, you know, coming down on the side of, it has to be equally available to everybody, and I just don't like the idea of being on the wrong side of that one, so my 2 cents.
Do you have a question also, John?
That was just a ruse for a big long comment.
And Mr. Cannon actually addressed that though, when we're talking about the Army Corps of Engineers and the replenished beaches. I mean, Avon, I believe, is also a replenished beach. And are we still able to separate out the beach lockers or beach boxes as not necessarily an amenity for beachgoers on a replenished beach? Is there?
We're talking about 2 different things, so I know mine's really a equal protection or civil rights kind of discussion. You know, what structures can be, I would defer to the borough engineers to what structures can be where on the beach. I know that we have a permit to put the boxes out for some period of time, but I would defer to the borough engineers, like what can go where. That's not really my department.
Yeah, I believe that's a CAFR permit to
General,
put the, general capital permit to put the beach boxes, lockers on the beach. And that's because of, you know, you're occupying flood storage is the issue. And it's considered a structure, for instance, that's considered development. So I again, separate from the issue of, you know, the sand being the Army Corps, different agency.
Right.
And or as well as the civil aspect of it from a, you know, a legal perspective of. But, you know, I think from a resident's point of view, I know there's a lot of people who have expressed dismay at the length of time that they've been on a list. And would like to see the ability to be able to see a turnover or the ability of being a resident to have a beach locker. You know, so I know several people came here and spoke to this council, and that's what instigated this exploration. I think that there's also the consideration that do you lose patronage? Will that cause an erosion of patronage? Because people are saying, well, you know what, I can't store my stuff there, so I'm not gonna go to that beach, I'm gonna go to a different beach. And so that's a consideration. But as a newer resident here who does not have a beach locker, I would love to be able to have a beach locker. But that's, you know, I realize that, you know, when they come available, but it does seem like they don't move. And so people hand them over, give them, you know, to their families hold on to them for generations, it seems. And so it is discouraging for residents who are here all the time to, you know, and want that. And we're here, you know, for the residents, but we're not, you know, so we have that opportunity to do this. if in fact, we saw that as a benefit to, our constituents without a detriment to the financial element of the cost. And then the next question is, what costs would be taken away, or what costs would no longer be underneath the beach utility? Right now, that cost is on the beach utility for these lockers, or is that actually self-subsidized by the fee for the beach locker? Is that actually paying for the movement, the storage, DPW, and what does that financial analysis show?
We don't have a full detailed financial analysis of the cost. We clearly track the revenue. I just talked to the CFO before coming into this meeting, and roughly we think it's a break-even proposition, that the revenue covers the cost and not much more.
Right, because then there's the question, would the cost of beach lockers go up, or would they come down to the residents if you were to implement something like this?
Well, so we can do this with or without changing resident, preferences. Better do a better cost accounting of our beach lockers. But assuming that the beach lockers are not very profitable and we would need to increase the fees, we would know that better doing an analysis. And again, we could charge more on the beach or in the current fund. If on the other hand, we're making a profit, and have we been making a profit, that profit has probably been benefiting the beach utility. Now, if we were to move it into the current fund, it would therefore benefit the current fund. I asked the CFO if that would be a problem. Do we need to cost account so that we don't charge any more than we don't collect any more than we cost, have the cost. Anyway, the answer was it's okay for us to make a profit. If in fact the revenue that's coming in is more than the cost, it's okay to charge what we think is a market price for those lockers. It could therefore result in a profit or a margin for the current fund.
But then you mentioned that there's also the option of allowing residential preference potentially, still allowing, if there was additional lockers available, you could still offer those to non-residents. That would be another option.
Yeah, it creates a whole new level of administrative challenges. And then what happens when those people get a locker? Do they get booted out next year when there are more residents who want the locker? And how do you stage that? All residents apply by the state, and after that date, then non-residents can apply. I'm not saying, I think it's a great point. It's creating an added level.
And it's also a 2-fee process. So the initial fee is the fee for the structure, and then you have the annual rental.
Mhm.
So if someone gets, it's something we would have to really look at every constituent who utilizes the lockers, but. If someone gets a locker one year and then not the next year, but they paid into the structure, which is a substantial amount of money. Right, and not just the rental. So we would
It's
have to figure out.
$600 now. to
Right.
Buy in, $200 annual renewal.
Right, so if now, more lockers went to residents and then there were fewer available for those renters, that would be something. But at the same time, this process would help us to clean house and figure out all of the locker rentals that are not, under our system, that are, working the system to
Yeah,
either lease their lockers to someone who's moved out, because it's very possible there's a lot of those.
so to that point, again, for our benefit and for the public's benefit, what Councilwoman Greenblatt's referencing is the fact that there are our ability to monitor the legitimacy, I'll call it, of current lessors is challenging, because Shauna, if you rented a locker as a resident and then you moved to Florida, you could keep paying for that locker and you can sublet it, and that is illegal under our ordinances. But, there are ways to try to cover that up, and then we have ways to try to uncover it. That said, if we were to move to resident only, then it'd be as simple as you show your driver's license and you gotta be a primary residence here in Bradley. So that's what you're saying. It would clean up some of the gray area where we would not necessarily, right now, we don't necessarily know if people are.
Right, or
Legitimate.
someone selling their home and an under the table deal that, I'll
Yeah.
continue to pay for this or.
Any of
or
those.
Whatever.
Yeah, There's a bucket, and we don't know if it's 10% of the renters or 20%, but there's a bucket of locker leases that we're fairly confident are, there are people who live in Florida and have a locker here. There are other people who live in Neptune City and have a locker here. The guys in Florida probably are not using their locker. They're probably, subletting. On the other hand, the folks in Neptune City are probably using our beach. So we don't have a sweeping one size fits all answer to this, but coming back to the original question, we have a lot of residents who have been on waiting lists for many years and who have been very vocal about the fact that, hey, why don't you give our residents a break? And I personally have sat here and said, we can't, public trust doctrine doesn't allow it. And now we're learning that in fact, we probably can. Question is, do we want to try? And if so, to what degree? Mr. Cannon, a question for you that I wanted to ask. If we are not required to provide equal access to all for lockers, does that then give us the flexibility to define who we could favor? For example, we can favor residents and employees of Bradley Beach municipality.
Let's look further into that.
You look further into that?
Let's look further,
Okay.
I have one more question. Can you remind me, when people write a check for their beach locker, what fund does that check go into?
Beach utility right now.
Oh, it is beach, utility. Okay.
So we have to, if you were to go through and change this, right? So those people actually bought an asset, they bought a locker, they spent $600, it could have been 4 years ago, it could have been 30 years ago. We reimburse, then it goes about, do you reimburse them from the beach utility, their initial investment for that asset?
We'd have to figure that out.
And so
Yeah,
it gets,
yeah.
there's a lot of nuance in how to go about, if you were to change it, how do you actually?
It's technically, you're right that we would want to discuss that and what would our policy be. Technically, they're leaseholders, it's part of their lease contract that they pay more upfront. They didn't actually buy the locker. And we charge them for that lease and a renewal every year. So if we truncate the lease, the starting point in that discussion would be, we don't owe them a refund. Now, if they just bought the locker last year, we might have a policy that says, hey, in fairness, we'll provide a prorated reimbursement over useful life of the locker or something. But to your point, it's a question we'd have to deal with. But I just want to be clear, these are all deemed to be leases. No one technically bought a locker.
Could we also potentially analyze the number of residents on the waiting list? And potentially determine a certain percentage of lockers at each beach, let's say 80%, whatever, just throwing out a number, for residents. And then 20% for whatever other we determine. Can we come up with some percentage so that way but with mindful to accommodate the residents. I don't know how many people are on the waiting lists.
I'm laughing only at I love your creativity. I'm laughing at the potential complexity, because half the time we don't even know if they're residents or not. And even if we could determine it and we picked a number, 80% of residents and 20% of non-residents, the other residents that don't make the 80% cut would still be
So
upset.
that's why I'm saying we would need to analyze what the need is from our residents. How many
Yeah, well-
people are sitting on those waiting lists?
Well, if you pick a number other than 100%, 80%, 70%, 99%, if you're not picking 100%, there's a risk you're cutting off some residents. Right? 100% of residents go first, that's easy to administer. But as soon as you say 99%, there's one resident out there maybe that we say, oh, okay, you did make the cut, now non-residents.
So we're truly somewhat, to some degree, disenfranchising many of our current residents in this waiting list that seems to be stagnant and not move.
Well, yes, I think that's what these residents would say. A couple residents have said that already, that especially those who feel they haven't moved or they moved one or two spots over a couple of years. Especially when we do, again, this is just facts for everybody's benefit, but close to 50% of our lockers are, I've been told, and we don't have the exact counts because again, we don't always know, a resident rents the locker and they pay for it, but someone else is using it, or a resident rents the locker, but somebody else comes in with a credit card, totally different person. It says, here's my payment for the locker. So it's not a pure science, but roughly, I'm told half of our lockers are rented currently by non-residents. Now, that said, before everybody looks at the word non-residents as being a bad word, a lot of these people, non-residents, may have lived here in Bradley Beach for 10 or 20 or 30 years. And maybe they moved out last year because they couldn't afford to continue to live here or whatever reason. But they've been Bradley Beach residents for 30 years, making this up. Now they move out and now we say, oh, you're no longer a resident, we're taking away your locker. Any of you in this room, your residents, maybe you have lockers already, maybe you'll get lockers tomorrow. 3 years from now, you move to another town, we take away your locker. It's a question we ask, we need to ask ourselves, is that fair? Is that what we want to consider doing? So, is it okay if we open it up to the public?
Yeah, it's not uncommon for this to happen where you rent just to residents. I see other towns do it and they consider it amenity. It's not a necessity, so that's why I don't think you would get, I think legally you can do it.
Yeah, I think legally we can do it. That's what Mr. Cannon says.
Yeah.
Do I need to make a motion open up to the public or can we just ask? them?
Just open it.
Okay, yes, sir.
Hi, Paul Champion, 411.5 Lorraine. Supposing we set it up so that residents, when they rent a beach locker, can designate which avenue they want it on. But non-residents are not allowed to designate an avenue that they want it on. That would really discourage a lot of people. In other words, non-residents, it would be random where their locker wound up. And if they knew that to start with, a lot of them wouldn't bother because obviously, that they may always want to come to one particular beach and their lockers doesn't. It may not work, but in some ways it would discourage.
That would also, Paul, change the whole dynamic, because right now there's people who would like to be, say, on Second Avenue, but they're over on Fifth and are residents. So if you did change this, it would reshuffle the deck, if you would say, say that residents would then be able to perhaps better prioritize and get to the street that they want to be on.
I think that's important. And another thought is that I'm not sure, you're not sure about the percentages.
Right,
I mean,
I've got rough.
My bill, for instance, is sent to Hoboken, which goes back for when I was only a summer resident. Half the bill sent to Hoboken. How are we checking? Is anyone going in and looking to see whether the names are in fact taxpayers or not?
Well, again, it's not a perfect science, but we do have employees here who do track the property owner and where the bills are being sent and or what credit cards are paying for the bills. So it could be sent to your place. Your next door neighbor could be signed up here in Bradley, but somebody else has shown up with a credit card paying for it. Begs the question, why's Paul's neighbor got a locker, but Al Gubitosi living across town is paying the bill? Things like that happen. So we don't have precise answers to these.
But adding that question to the application. Where they have to sign a statement saying that their residence is either Bradley Beach or not Bradley Beach. Could that help you?
Right now, it doesn't make a difference because they're allowed to be a non-resident, but if we were to change the rule, yes, we would have a statement like that.
We don't-
Even
don't
if you
vet.
didn't change the rule.
No,
We
we
don't,
don't know.
right now, we do not vet when we locker renew. We don't vet at all.
Only for subletting, but you can be a non-resident now and it's no
Yeah.
problem sending you bill to Hoboken.
It doesn't stop you from asking in the application. And that way you would be able to get a better idea of the accuracy of your estimate.
Sure,
Percentage.
sure. Thank you.
What about people that live
Yes.
here part-time? If they have two houses and they live in Florida and here,
They're on
I mean,
tax
it's,
rolls.
yeah, as long as they own property
okay,
or are.
I think I
Jane was discussing what I was thinking. I think it's important to distinguish tax rolls because
It
taxpayers,
would have to be both.
yeah, well, no, why would you have to be both? You're a taxpayer, you come down every weekend. It's
That's-
your property, you should have access.
That's
and you-
one of the two, but that
Right,
has to be
so,
both.
but it's different than an out of town.
Are you
rent.
saying a renter would not?
No, I think a renter should if they live in the town.
That's
year
both,
round.
that's
But
both.
a lot of people don't rent their houses, they just use.
That's
them.
okay.
Okay,
It would have to be a property owner or a renter.
okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yep. Yes, Nancy? And by the way, Linda, it could be both, right? It could be both the property owner and the renter. With the same property. Sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing this. Let me start with that. Especially that you're considering doing some sort of P and L on the finances of the beach lockers. Once you get a handle on that, perhaps you can apply it to other various departments within the borough, which I've been asking for how many years?
Baby steps.
I said, once you get there. And I wanna underscore what Linda said, because frequently when we have these types of discussions, not just limited to the lockers, there's appears to be a lack of distinguishing between a property owner, a resident, which in my mind is similar, other than different type of ownership, to a renter. And it just kind of, everything's always referred to as the property owner. Property owner may not be consider this their primary resident. Especially, need I say, the older population who find southern tax laws to their benefit. They should not be, they still need to be considered as a valid locker owner if they have a property here. I understand if they're renting out that property, you would want to say only one locker for that dwelling. I get that. But I really think you need to, whatever your findings do, this whole scenario of property owner versus resident versus, I guess, what you're saying, primary owner, which is
Correct.
where you're voting. You know,
Correct.
that whole thing all needs to be clarified. And I don't know how you're gonna figure this all out, but when you do,
I'm
then
gonna,
add to it.
Okay.
You should be able to move, if you have a locker. And you wanna move from. Well, the way I would do it, from Second Avenue up to. The last beach on the north end, you should be able to do that. Okay? In my opinion, there should be a cutoff, there's ways to work this out, I have it all in my head, in my Excel sheet, in my brain. But I should not have to be held hostage because my locker can't be moved.
well, the problem is, because this happens to people right
I
now.
know it does, that's why.
But if there's no room at the beach you wanna move to, you have to wait to get an open spot.
Always room, I can go down to every beach and tell you that a bad locker is better than no locker. And if you wanna take it with you, you should be able to.
Well, we move lockers in groups of 3, so.
Okay, triplets.
Yeah.
There's triplets, fine, but I can also tell you that not all triplets are filled, that are out there all year, all season. But good luck with working this out.
But you're generally in favor of doing something that would advantage the residents.
I actually don't have an opinion, as long as I have a locker. What I have an opinion on is what is the criteria for having a locker if you are a disabled person? What is the criteria and date for that? And how do you all, meaning 701 Main Street, figure out which are those lockers? Because I will tell you that on some they're south of the beach, of the steps. And then there's the lockers that are north of the steps that are actually closer to the ramps.
True.
So those are the issues, quite honestly, I'm more concerned about, but that's not on the table right now.
Yeah, exactly. We'll discuss that later.
I'm going there, but good luck, you got a couple months.
Thank you. Yes.
Brigitte McGuire, 610 Brindley. Just a couple of things. I love the idea of residents first. I love that this topic is coming up and we're actually looking into it finally, because for years it's been, no, it's public, it's public, it's public, it has to be open to everybody. I think it's so important we consider, obviously, there's so many things to consider if this changes. But if it does go to residents only, and there's residents on the waiting list, obviously, I'm assuming they would get first dibs. But now, once residents know that this opportunity has fully opened up to residents, and we have maybe a whole block, a whole street lining up to get these, and then they might be on a wait list for another 20 years. I think we end up in the same problem for residents anyway. So I just think that's something to think about, because I have a feeling that could just get pretty chaotic. Did we look into how Avon does it, or Asbury, how they've done it? Like, do we know what their little details are?
Well, when you say, what we know is they favor the residents.
Right, but like what are their waiting lists like? You know, do they pool it every year? Do they,
No.
I guess as a resident who has a beach locker, I have a fear that if we move into this, I'm getting thrown into a pool every season, every year now. And I don't want to lose my locker the way I've had it. So I want to make sure that stays strong, because I paid for my locker all those years for it to be built and so on and so forth. So that could come up if now residents are all wanting to get a chance at lockers. So I just wanted to make that point too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's really important that we evaluate both the number of out-of-town locker rentals. And also the waiting lists, so we can see if we actually can
We will, but
make those.
yeah, we will. The issue is, before we do detailed evaluation and study other boroughs, what they do. And you know, I presume, again, the council would decide this, but I, as one member of the council, would presume we would still honor seniority. We wouldn't take away a locker that someone had and give it to someone else on. But you're absolutely right, we could have new waiting lists of residents only. But before we do any research, I think fundamentally we have to decide that, does it make sense for this borough as the governing body, that we would, now that we're allowed to, would we want to discriminate in favor of our residents, however we define residents, property owners, renters, primary residents being Bradley Beach. So, but first and foremost, do we want to differentiate? If we don't, then all we have to worry about is, defining handicap lockers. Yes, you, in the back, Eileen. But we can certainly do that. It's just-
Right, we want to know what the will of interest is.
I mean, just 112 Fourth Avenue, I want to thank you. Thank you for thinking of the residents and really being conscientious about taking care of the taxpayers and the residents. So thank you.
Mr. Ryan.
Sure, Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. I want to thank you for the workshop. I mean, this is airing everything out. This is the concept, and I want to thank you for having it. I am concerned about some of the issues that we brought up, especially the financial. I believe Councilman Nowicki brought that up. If the locker is $600 and someone paid $400 10 years ago for their locker, and they are now no longer eligible if you go to a new system. I do believe that the $600 collected from the resident should reimburse the $400 for the person who had the locker before. I think in all financial fairness, that would be the best way to handle it. I mean, we're not in this to make money. We're in this to service the residents, make sure our residents do have priority, and I appreciate it.
On that point, I like that. I like your idea. I think it's creative. My question would be, what's the useful life of a locker? Like if that person bought it 10 years ago and we've replaced the locker twice since, Should we still reimburse the original?
They should have lost money.
Well, this happens with the benches all the time. So,
I think it's a little different in this situation because you're gonna be collecting the new funds from the new person. My real problem with this, as many things, is that fundamentally the foundational process was wrong. The town should have just paid for the lockers and built them. But someone came up with this idea, we're gonna charge people, and now we are where we are now. But I would be offended if I didn't receive my money back, and so just assuming another person did.
okay, great, thank you. Any other comments, John? Comment?
Yeah, because Paul Gavin is here, I just want to take everybody back. This is ancient history. Probably folks may not even know this, but we did a strategic plan for the town. And when we did that, we had to characterize the town. And what is Bradley Beach all about? And I don't have it in front of me, but there's all sorts of wonderful adjectives like open and inclusive, and we're diverse, and we're all these different things. And I think now we're talking about doing something that, okay, our neighboring town, Avon, it's a different town. This is a town that got rid of, they had plenty of diagonal parking spaces on the really wide streets, and they got rid of that and they made them all parallel. So there's about a third of the amount of public parking that there used to be in that town. What is that town? They're saying, stay away from our town, don't come here, exclusivity, residents only, you know, that kind of stuff. And I just feel like that's not our town. So I think this is one of the things that distinguishes our town. That attitude, that open inclusiveness. I mean, I waited 7 years for a locker. I don't know what the wait list is now. I love that you figured out how many people live here, how many people don't live here. I think the other piece of information, you said it as well. What is the average person waiting now? Like, do we know? Because, you know, and we have a problem. We can't like add more lockers. We already determined that. There's like a space storage problem. So,
It even varies by beach.
yeah.
Like, the wait periods are different. One beach might have, 5, waiting list of 5 people, and another has 55. It's crazy.
Well, also, if you recall, the wait list was closed. It just reopened this past January. So for several years, there was no wait list. So I don't know what.
Well, there was a wait list, they weren't adding to it. There was still-
No, that there was an old wait list, right?
Right,
But
it
my
existed.
point was you couldn't get onto the wait list. So now, was there a surge of people coming onto the wait list? Was it a big uptick or not? 'Cause that's an indicator as well.
See if we can put a bunch of new lockers in the extension, when we do the bulkhead extension, that's just filled out with lockers.
So, is there anyone on Zoom? I don't see any hands raised. No questions. Okay. Thank you all for indulging us. We all think, I think this was an important conversation to have in the public eye. We allowed it, I personally allowed it to go on a little longer than we might normally prefer, just to make sure we heard everyone and give us all a chance to absorb this. We'll come back in a subsequent meeting to discuss this further. Certainly, if we're gonna consider any changes, we'd have to do it virtually immediately in the next month or two. Seasonal badges go on sale in December. Beach lockers are assigned in April, whatever the timeframe. So we'll have to move quickly if we choose to move at all.
Can we do any analysis
Yeah.
between now and the next time we
What-
discuss this, so we're better educated about?
Within reason we can, it's flawed. The data we have is, we can analyze flawed data. In that we don't always know who are residents and not. Well, we can certainly tell you, I can't say for sure. It's 45% or 40% or 50% are out of town, but it's a big number. It's a big number.
Right.
And the total lockers, 450, roughly 200 of those are out of town. I mean, we've got data like that, but to tell you exactly how many would get ruled out, I don't know how many are gonna show up with the driver's license with their primary residence being Bradley Beach. There are people who may go change their residence to, their primary residence.
Well, I mean, we're still allowing, I'm sorry to extend this, but we're still allowing, someone to have a primary residence elsewhere and a secondary resident or whatever in Bradley Beach, so they don't necessarily have to have a driver's license to be.
No, that'd be one of the 2 criteria, the driver's license.
But no, a taxpayer is what we were talking about, somebody on the tax rolls, they don't
And
necessarily.
primary residence.
Yeah.
Primary, I didn't know. No, I don't think
A
that's.
renter would be a primary residence in Bradley Beach, a renter.
Right.
And a
Right.
and a
Second homeowner,
homeowner,
someone on
may
the
not-
tax rolls.
and they may not have a primary residence, but they're on the tax roll. One or the other would qualify. That's why, Nancy, you made a comment, well, I understand how it'd be one house. I didn't say it at the time, but I'll say it now, just to get everybody clear. One house could have two sets of families or three or four sets of families. If one house is owned by you, you're entitled to get a locker. If you're renting, it's multifamily and you're renting 3 units on your property. Those 3 renters, all with primary residence, each one would be entitled to a locker, is what I think the direction we would go. So
That's 4 residents.
for one,
one
it's
property.
one property for residents.
Family.
My only point is, it's not one locker per property,
Well,
per whatever we want to call it. I'm calling it property. A property owner would have the ability to get a locker. If that property owner is renting multiple residences within the property, each of those residents, as long as their primary residence, primary address is Bradley Beach, they each would be entitled to a locker.
Right, so,
That's the logic.
but I think also important for us to take a look at, obviously not spend too much time if we're not sure we're gonna go in that direction. But to also take a look at, as Paul mentioned, the surge of people who went on that waiting list. How many residents are sitting on that waiting list? And how long have they been on it? That's information.
We know how long the waiting list is. We don't know, this keeps coming up. We don't know how many are residents. People signed up on a waiting list years ago. They, 2-3 years ago, that maybe they're waiting. Maybe they were residents then and they're not now. Maybe they are residents now and they weren't then. We don't know. We can look at the data, but it's only gonna tell us what they were when they signed up.
But we can send letters out to all of the
Oh,
people,
sure.
right? I mean, there are things that we can
No, no,
do to find out.
You're right, you're right. The question's going to be, in my mind, we need to decide quickly, do we want to advantage our residents? If we don't want to, all the other analysis is kind of academic. But if we want to make a change to provide an advantage to our residents, then I ask the question, can we identify any other group? For example, we have a handful of employees I know who I think as a governing body, John, to your point, maybe we want to just be fair and equal to all. And if we're not going to be fair and equal to all, are there gradations? Should we at least provide a privilege to the people who serve our residents? So it's just a question we need to address.
But if you're not gonna be fair and equal to all, you need to check yourself, like you need to,
If we're gonna favor our residents, are there any other groups we want to favor?
Right.
Okay, we need to move on, trying to get out of here before midnight. And we're going to get into another interesting topic, but again, a very important one, and that is the topic of special parking. And right now, we have a resolution. Anyone who's looking at E code, it's chapter 9, section 3-9.
You can't get it.
You can't hear me?
She said.
I can't get it now on the internet.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, we'll describe it to everyone.
Linda, did you go on the Wi-Fi?
I think I did, but it closes, you can't open it up again.
Well, I'll describe it for everybody. The point is, we have a resolution, I'm sorry, we have an ordinance now. Chapter 9, looking for it, it's 9-3.9. And basically, it provides special permit parking. And many of you have seen this. These are the curbs in private neighborhoods that are painted yellow because there's a handicapped individual living at that residence. And they provide the borough with certain documentation relative to their disability, a placard and a doctor's note. And there are certain criteria in our existing ordinance that enables people to get the curb in front of their house painted yellow. And then they get a special decal. It's not a universal handicap spot. It is a spot for that residence only. They get a special Bradley Beach decal. And if they meet the other eligibility criteria, they alone can park in that spot. So it creates challenges for the borough. I think it creates challenges for some of our residents. I want to I'll tee this up for everybody, but I want us once again to have a discussion about the pros and cons of the current ordinance and at least whether or not we should consider some changes. A couple of the concerns I've had raised by residents, tied to the fact that a number close to, there's 40 some odd spots in the borough. 40, we don't know exactly, again. Total, we have 50 some odd listed, 52, but a lot of them are duplicates, roughly 45. That's as good a number as any. Of this 45, roughly half are not full-time residents. They are, Bradley Beach is not their primary residence. They are a property owner, they pay Bradley Beach taxes. The concern raised by other residents is we paint the curb in front of that house. And for 3 months of the year, when that family is here and that handicapped individual is here, they can park in that spot. But for 8 or 9 months of the year, when they've gone back to their primary residence, no one else can park on that block or where that space is. So it's raised questions. There are scenarios where our ordinance says, if you have a driveway, you should not be able to have a privatized parking space on the street. However, there are scenarios where people have made agreements with tenants that live in the back apartments, that those tenants can park in their driveway, which then blocks the access for that handicapped individual. So then they request a spot on the street. So there are different variations on the theme that have created at this point in time, close to 45 different parking spaces in the borough. That are, that are, especially in the summer, raising concerns for a lot of our residents about the fact that, especially when they're not being used, about, is our policy too liberal and should we at least look at creating greater restrictions or greater eligibility restrictions as to, how these spots would be used. So, you guys have any general comments? Because I can walk through some of the specific changes that I will say this, I put forward just as a draft for us to talk about proposed changes. Some of them are just taking away ambiguities. Our attorney, Mr. Cannon, has documented this in a draft of ordinance edits. But largely, we were thinking that, or I was thinking that we might want to consider whether or not we would continue to provide a handicap space as we have today, permit parking, limited specifically to that family, not all handicap. But they would have to be, back to that earlier discussion, I was thinking Bradley Beach would have to be their primary residence. If they are not a primary resident in Bradley, I don't think it makes sense to park, to have a curb painted for 12 months when you're living here for 3 months. So that was issue number one. Issue number two is we have a situation in town and I won't go street by street, but where just by coincidence, we have 3 of these special permits in a row. So, and all 3 happen to be, as my understanding, not primary residents of Bradley. So it's blocking off, if these are 50-foot wide properties, it's blocking off roughly 150-foot stretch of curb all year long. I think, let's say these were all primary residents in Bradley Beach. I still think, and living here full time, I question and I wonder if we should consider some sort of limitation to have no more than 1 or 2 of these spots dedicated on any given block. So if you have 3 or 4 houses, perhaps we could consider that third person who comes in, if we limit it to 2, or that second person, if we limit it to 1, we could say, look, this block is taken, but 1 block away, if that's still a convenience, we can place it there. Conceptually, it's just to anticipate that if you ever got some unusual string of consecutive houses, we would limit how much of a curb we blocked off. And the other limitation that I was thinking we should propose, right now we have 45 of these. My understanding is if we move to primary residence, that might cut the number in half. But I still think we might want to consider a global cap, that if we're gonna redraft any elements of this ordinance, we might want to say, in no event do we have more than, it's almost like beach lockers, we have 400 beach lockers, anyone else goes on a waiting list. In this case, we have no more than, the number I proposed was 40 spaces across the borough. And in the event that we need 41, that person goes on a waiting list. Anyway, this is again to generate discussion, questions you guys may have, give the audience a chance to respond to, you know, whatever we say.
I have some questions. One of the things you just, I mean, these are largely good changes, so I really appreciate this. The thing on the one per block, yeah, it seems random. I mean, how are you gonna determine if a handicapped person happens to move in, you know, in like blocks, I don't know, 600 feet long, somebody's on the other side of the street, other end of the block, like, they're not competing for the same parking spaces. And, I mean, just, I don't think this was said, but this is also somebody in this situation, if they happen to live in like the beach block, especially in the summer, it could be impossible for them to get a spot near their house, and they're handicapped and they have no driveway. I mean, this is to do something for the residents, which I completely support. But I don't know how you limit it to one per block, because someone's gonna say, I meet this criteria, I meet this criteria. Why can't I get this space? And I think that puts us in a bad situation. The other thing is at the end of the fee, this came up a very long time ago, the fee, that it was like, that was nowhere near what it costs to send somebody out to make sure that it's a property with no driveway and no curb cut and paint the curb and put up the sign. I mean, this was a discussion a very long time ago, and they're like, it was nowhere, $50 was nowhere near cover it, so.
Well, I mean, we could certainly come up with a different number. Sure, police towers have probably gone up a little bit since $50 was first established, so.
We're gonna make the sign too.
Yeah, make sign, and curb,
Post, you gotta put a post on.
yeah.
There's a
Yes,
cost.
I just,
All right, so we'll come up with a number.
I mean, unless we wanna, like, we're just making it cheap on purpose, but if our goal is to like cover the cost, it's like.
Yep.
it's anywhere near.
And so I, you know, my first thought when I read this, and you informed us that you were considering addressing these changes. Number one is, you know, I think, you know, ADA compliance, ADA compatibility and access for handicapped people is critical. And I think number one is that's the priority. And I agree with what John just said, limiting it to one per block, when all of a sudden it could be, you know, 250 feet apart. And then we say, well, no, we're not, you know, we can't because you're on that same block. And it's across the street from each other. So I think that a full-time resident, I would agree to, but I think that limiting it, just because it's luck of the draw and there happens to be, you know, 3 handicapped individuals living on that block, only 1 or 2 of them can get a spot. I just don't know how we do that, especially if they don't have driveways. And so I think the issue with driveways is, yes, if you have a driveway, there is no rationale to provide a spot. And so I think I would agree with your concept of, you know, precluding those properties with driveways, that they would not be eligible. But I think that we have to make sure that we're serving the handicapped community and providing, you know, that facility for them. When they don't have driveways especially, and not limit the number just because they happen to be luck of the draw 3 houses in a row even. I think we need to accommodate that.
What about the global cap?
The global cap, I think that if we are annually checking to see what these are. Right, so right now in the draft ordinance, it doesn't address as the annualization of it. It says every January you apply, but it doesn't say anything about reapplying on an annual basis. Because somebody may have a temporary spot for 1 year and all of a sudden they no longer qualify after a year.
Well, it says that all permits expire after the year.
Yeah, it's.
Well, he's saying,
It's under-
as far as the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission, you have to have that, the placard display.
Right.
So sometimes you
For
have
that
like
spot.
knee surgery and you have it, and then you heal and you don't have the permission from New Jersey anymore. So your license plate has to have that,
Right, you have to have that.
Right,
but it
Right.
is,
E1 does say renew.
yeah,
But it doesn't
they
say
have to
here.
renew every
Yeah.
year.
and you have to do every year, yes,
I missed that.
never mind,
So that's, would have to be.
yes. And that wasn't on previous, they didn't have to put this, the handicap, disability placard on the car. Now they have to do that.
I also think we're an aging community, and I think especially on the north end where you have less driveways, I think it becomes more of an issue. And to limit that, I think, would just be disadvantageous, and not, equitable. So I think that if there is a person who is handicapped, we need to provide that accommodation.
Definitely.
So does it put us then in a difficult situation if we put a global cap on?
Yeah, that's why I think maybe don't.
I don't think we're going to have to. I don't think there's that many people that require this.
If we make other changes, the global cap's less critical. If-
Yeah, because like,
if we
I
require
find that a lot of people, like you said, half of these people don't live here all year. And I wish my father was still alive because it would drive him crazy to see all these parking spots open with no one in them for most of the year. These people are here 3 or 4 months. And for 8 months of the year, he looked at these empty spots.
As he rode his bike by.
Yes, he was very spry, but yeah, he was 80 something years old and he's like, these people, other people could be using these spots. And so I think that's great that you're doing it for people that have to live here year round and that they have to display the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission issued disability placard.
That has a time stamp on it, right? With a
Yes.
date.
I think, and then, or they have a license plate. So
Right.
this is strictly for people that really need it.
And a doctor's note within 90 days of the
Yes,
application.
yes.
It's not for people that just had knee surgery and they expect to
No.
recover, it's not for that.
No.
I think one thing that might really help inform this discussion, I hate to say, but it'd be useful for a lot of reasons, is if we had an idea of how many properties in town don't have driveways. Cause that would help us inform, then only a certain percentage of people are generally disabled, maybe we skew a little older, so we'd be generous with that, but knowing that number, I think would help us zero in if we were gonna do a global.
If we're gonna do global.
Yeah,
What I'm hearing is maybe that's a provision we would consider at a later date, but maybe not right now.
Yeah, but I still think it would inform us in so many different areas if we actually knew how many properties don't have driveways.
right.
You still need, mesh it up with how many potential disabled people. we
Yeah, I
have.
just think you strike number 4. Okay,
Yeah.
Strike that one. That's one that has,
Mr. Cannon, it looks like one of these is duplicated, the draft you provided, item number 2. The applicant's property must have no driveway, curb cut, blah, blah, blah. And item number 5, it basically says the same thing, and I think number 1 of those should have been, a restriction on, county or state roads. I didn't see that in here.
No, that's my mistake. I know you asked me to put that in there. It had to be on municipal roads.
No problem.
But I said the 2 and 5 is a little different in that one's a restriction. I mean, you can combine them.
well, 5 was the one that said 90 days within the application. So
No, but
Well,
the
that's
new
still in
number
there.
5. You have the new number 5 training.
I do.
So a lot of, which you have to understand is that the original ordinance really just.
Spell. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't say about the 90 days anymore.
Yeah.
So first things first, Greg, what was your thing about combining 2 and 5?
I'm sorry, me?
2 and 5 look to be almost identical, but you were saying they're subtly different. And I was,
Well, one requires that they must prove it, like presumably a survey.
It puts the onus on owner, the second, number 5, puts the onus on the property owner to demonstrate and prove that they don't have a driveway.
as opposed to 2, that just says,
Well, it just says, right.
you must not have it.
Right,
Okay,
so
so,
it takes the onus off of us having to go out there and validate.
so if we, sorry, John,
No.
Do you want, I mean, you can combine 2 and 5.
I'll come back to that.
Good.
So Greg, maybe we leave 5, but maybe 2, we can use that placeholder to be the, it's gotta be municipal drive, municipal road.
Yeah, or yeah. I was gonna do the opposite. I was gonna pull that up. I was gonna pull that up to 2, and then I can make 5. Demonstrate that the proposed.
We are gonna open this up to the public in another minute. I just want to get our
Stated on and is also.
We're gonna have to change the number, I think it's gonna be in the fifth.
Yes.
So I know, Councilwoman DeNoble had a question about the 90 days thing, that was moved up to 3.
Yeah,
A lot of these are
Perfect.
still in there,
Oh, good.
like, one thing I wanna point out to you is that the ordinance was just one section of a relatively random list of requirements. And that was reorganized into an eligibility section to explain like who's eligible for it. And then an administrative requirements section that basically tells you what you have to do. So a lot of the ones that were in the top end, they're further below, there's 8 more.
yeah.
So fees being lowered for this.
So we expired.
So Greg, also in, item administrative requirements, E1, it says that each year special permit applications will be made available. But it doesn't say that as a year you have to reapply.
No, but it says, earlier on,
Where-
the applicant, so during the month of June.
But administratively, it doesn't say that.
In January of each year, special.
It doesn't say that you have to reapply.
You have to be renewed
Well,
every.
it says they expire at December. I guess it's kind of the same.
Yeah, you don't have to renew it, but your old one expires at December
Right.
31st.
Oh, you want-
Because it expires, therefore, at your annualized.
Greg, what's your thought about can you make that substitution for the municipal roads?
Yeah, I've just moved 5 up into 2, so 2 reads the applicant's property must have no driveway, curb cut, garage, or other form of off-street parking access. The applicant must demonstrate that the property has no driveway, curb cut, or other form of off-street parking access. And then 5 says the applicant must demonstrate that their proposed special parking space is located on a municipal roadway.
Okay.
Now, what's the reason for that? Simply because we can only.
Yeah, we can't-
We don't even really have the
Yeah.
authority to grant this on county or state
Right,
bridges,
okay.
so
That's
it's really
great.
good statement of our authority.
Okay, so
But it lets people know, like, you know.
Right.
So folks, just, I'm gonna open it up to the public in a second, but just to recap. What we're ignore what I said earlier about limits to number on a given block or a global cap. It sounds like. The council's not interested in going quite that far with our limitations. But it sounds like we do want to consider requiring this to be primary residence, requiring that there be a driveway. And we cannot allow these spaces to be put on anything other than municipal roadways, so county and state roads. We can't allow them now. Again, we can check to see where they are today, but county would be Brindley, Lake Terrace, and Ocean Ave. State obviously is Main Street. And we can't do that anyway, so we need to add that requirement. We'll change the fee, as John pointed out, chief.
You might want to consider shared driveways as well. There's a lot of those.
The chief, we used to have no, we didn't have a shared driveway, I guess, but you're right, we have some in.
It's on our inspection sheet that we go out to the property.
Yeah.
There is check off, is there a driveway? Is it a shared driveway?
And if it's a shared driveway, what's the criteria you use to determine? Is it eligible?
I mean, we discussed it, a lot of times if they have a spot, either one of them use the driveway, and that person can never, if they get the spot, can never park in that driveway. We've had that problem, we've taken the spot away, if we saw them in that driveway. Showing the need, that they didn't need it.
If it's a shared driveway that leads to 2 separate garages
Well, a lot of times it's a shared driveway and it doesn't extend past, the front of the house.
what's the functionality of the shared driveway?
So I mean, it's pretty limited.
But there's still a spot for a handicap.
Yes, but you have 2 residents sharing that same driveway.
So there's coordination.
So there's an expectation that neither one resident can park there.
Right.
Yeah.
Just something to consider.
We had language, do we have language to that effect? Mr. Kenny, do you remember?
Well, shared driveways?
Yeah, we may need to add that.
It's only on the inspection one.
Okay, so, because we had very specific language that said, if there was a curb cut,
Thank you.
whatever, we're passing candy or.
Longer than expected.
we have the applicant's property must basically have the no driveway, curb cut, garage, but if there is a shared driveway, there could be an exception. What's the decision by the police? I mean, how do we resolve that?
I mean, generally, it's, I'll talk to both residents. And I mean, listen, if neither one of them are using it. And that person, if they're granted that spot, are told. You will not use that driveway, if you're sitting in that driveway, you get a warning, after that, it's gonna be removed. So.
So Greg.
I don't think we need to change anything. It says that the property must have no driveway, curb cut, or other forms of off-street parking access. You're basically required to prove that to you on the spot,
There's no off-street parking.
Well, yeah, it's,
Okay, so we'd be covered. If
But
if it's a shared driveway, it's got a curb cut, but it's only got half a curb cut, right?
That's not available to them
Hold on.
all the time, so that's just.
The drive.
I'm just questioning the language that we use, which is saying no driveway, no curb cut. Garage, you're saying you could have a shared driveway, which would have a curb cut
Currently,
currently.
currently there's a shared driveway, I think there is maybe a space or two that there's a shared driveway. And there's one of the residents has a handicap spot.
Greg,
can I ask a question?
yeah, please.
Let's just, I'll give you another hypothetical. Someone's got a pod in their driveway for a year because they're redoing something in their backyard. Now they have no off-street parking access and they want to apply for this thing for a year or for the rest of the year. I mean, isn't that why we send the inspecting team out? You know, I mean, I just, my point is, I'm not sure you can write everything in this ordinance gonna encompass every single hypothetical situation. So maybe you just cut it down to no form of off-street parking access and forget about whether they have a driveway, curb cut, or garage, because you have people literally going out to look to see if they can park off the street. Because really the object is off-street, right?
Right.
So maybe you just forget about driveway, curb cut, garage, or other form of access. You just say the applicant's property must have no off-street parking access. That could be for a new myriad of different reasons. Either it doesn't exist whatsoever, or there's a temporary circumstance that requires them to, you know, have a special parking permit for the year. Like you're only giving them for a year. It's not in perpetuity. And so
So you're suggesting we craft that language that you have no.
my point is, if you're backing it with an actual physical inspection, right, then usually we craft these things so that the wording is appropriate when we have to give someone a ticket or something like that happens. But this is kind of the opposite. We're granting them a privilege and you're having someone inspect the property. So I'm not sure the language has to encompass every single scenario. It just doesn't have to have if that property has no off-street parking access as determined by the police. Whether that's because there's a public project going on or something, and you maybe, you know, I can think of a million different scenarios where someone can't get in their driveway and might want a temporary permit.
What's the language you would recommend? Is the
I would just say, just cut it down. The applicant's property must have no off-street parking access.
Okay.
And then that doesn't
No.
focus on what anyone's particular property is. It focuses on what the police go out and see that, oh, you know, I mean, I don't know, you have a family member who's away in the military and their stuff's in a pod in the driveway and you have to keep it there. They have a permit for that. And now they can't park. I mean, I can think of a million different scenarios that we wouldn't be able to craft language. But if you have someone going to look at it and there's no off-street parking access, that's.
Hold on, the chief has.
Yeah, that's all of that.
Kind of like. The way it is currently, that the driveway. Is an eliminator, right? But if there's some extraordinary circumstance, you could appeal that. Provide that circumstance and it'll be reviewed. So, you know, that's kind of what. Would happen now with a shared driveway.
So maybe
As
just put
according
that,
to the ordinance, it's a no, you won't get it.
so maybe just say that, shared, you know, a shared, an exception may apply to a shared driveway.
Yeah.
Or
Subject
any,
to-
well, any exception. Greg was saying maybe it's a pod that's.
An exception for change it to off-street.
I kind of, the language that Greg suggesting seems to work for me. There's no off-street parking opportunity. But Greg, the examples you're giving, like, I'm not envisioning this for some kind of temporary situation. Like, this is, you got a resident, they're disabled, they're not getting any better, they're gonna live here for the rest of their lives. They get this spot so that in the summer madness, they can actually have a spot in front of their house. It's not for people that have some kind of temporary situation. There's a construction dumpster or what, like, it's not for that. That said, so I don't like the examples you're giving, Greg, but I do like the language that I think covers it, and off-street covers the shared
And
driveway.
John, you're raising a good point. I believe there are scenarios where someone has major surgery, they get a placard that says they're disabled.
Mhm.
And they have had their curb painted, but
No,
it's not,
I've never done
no,
temporaries.
Like I said, it's not.
So the temporary one is through the state for 6 months, you can extend it for another 6 months, and that's it. We've never issued a permanent spot in town, they painted the curb for someone that just had a surgery and they have a 6 month temporary.
okay, so. Let's open it up to the public. Paul?
On chapter 411 Lorraine. I have a case where I have a shared driveway, and I have actually part of my deed, with my neighbor, we basically stipulate that we can't park in our driveway. Or if we do, it's temporary, we have to move to allow access, so that causes some problems to the law. We have off-street parking, but it's under conditions. Also, we have off-street parking, but in such a way that if there was somebody who was truly handicapped, for instance, wheelchair bound, they would not be able to access the car in that off-street parking. One, because the space between our houses is too narrow, the driveway is too narrow. There's no way to open a door when you're in that space. If you're parked in front of the house in the driveway space before you reach the house, you're on such an angle that it would be almost impossible to get a wheelchair into the resident out into the car. So there are a lot of properties like that, similar to mine, which is gonna cause a problem. So there really has to be some sort of a way to appeal the stipulations in their law.
Or maybe we could provide for police discretion to.
That's kind of what's going on now, is that it says in there, the driveway doesn't make you eligible. But, you know, when we do the inspection, like I said, it'll say, is your driveway? Yes. Is it shared? Yes. Off-street parking available? Yes or no? You know, so I kind of like the way it is now, with the discretion where the driveway will be an eliminator. But there will be those occasions where there's a shared driveway, like he's speaking about. And in a case like that, that's generally what you find, that they both don't use the driveway unless they're unloading something quickly. That's an extraordinary circumstance.
It may not even be a shared driveway, it may be a driveway solely on your property, but so narrow that you, to Mr. Nishemka's point.
We run into that a lot, where he's speaking about, where it's not even. A handicapped person, it wouldn't make it any easier for them, it's too narrow, it's small.
I also have a garage, but that's a building from 1902, it hasn't been used as a garage in probably 80 years. And basically, I mean, there's no way that I could use it as a garage. It's
It's a very good point. We'll have to factor that in. Thank you.
All right.
Julie. Who thinks someone changed that? Keep hearing the word. All right, good.
I at least did it once so far.
Hello, Julie Ted, 605 North Avenue. I'm so glad and appreciate that we are really revisiting this the parking, the special parking. And Captain Arnold, I'm so glad that you're involved with this too, because I mean, if we're all being honest, we know how much this special parking has been abused in the town. The question I have for you is, like, there are some spots that I'm well aware. What are the dimensions for a special spot? Because they're all different kind of lengths.
We've stipulated between 20 and 23 feet long.
Okay, good, because I know there are some that are really small, some that are really long and everything. And also, you know, we want to make sure that people who really need these really get these spots, because we all could be in this situation at one time. But a question I have, and I'll never forget, I saw this on Facebook once, and somebody new was purchasing a house with no off-street parking. And it was on Facebook, and I wish I had the post, and they said, oh, don't worry about it, you could just go to the town and you can get a parking spot. So that's privatizing. If you know, there has to also be personal responsibility when you're making a real estate decision. Because this has to be there for, you know, especially residents, you know, things will happen and we all might need these. But if you're making a real estate decision based on the fact that you know that this is not available. And then thinking, well, I'm just gonna go to town and get that, that's also not fair to residents, because then that is privatizing a road. And also manipulating a system, so I do think we definitely have to be careful with that. And I would also recommend, I know you said the fact is that temporarily, if someone has surgery or something like that, you know, people have knee surgeries or hip replacements or everything. Normally, you know, 3 to 4 months, you're, you know, up and about and running. Those are the things, they shouldn't be having a spot for a year. And those are things that we should really address. Because in Bradley Beach, we can't make something that is just not there, and that's space. And we have to be fair to one another, and also people have to realize also, I like what Mr. Nashemkin said, if you have a shared driveway, that just might not work, there's narrowness and everything. So there will definitely be special circumstances that definitely have to be reviewed. And I feel confident that we have Captain Arnold here today. Prior to that, I saw firsthand of the abuse and the scamming going on with these special spots. And I really do hope, you know, I know people are gonna get upset about this, but they're supposed to be here for a reason and for people who really need them. So I really think that this is something that we have to stay on the pulse on at everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda.
I hope I never need one, but thank you for addressing all this. I was wondering about van accessibility. Oh, Linda Duffy. Linda Muslanka Duffy. 312 Brinley Avenue. The vans, the handicap vans do require 11 feet width to get in and out for a handicapped person. But on the other hand, I'm sure Chief would say, all right, you have to have a space because there's a curb here, either the cinder block curbs or whatever, and you can't get a wheelchair in between the car and the curb to get somebody in and out of a wheelchair. So that, you evaluate that also?
We haven't had that
Well,
situation.
I was driving around town, because I got to read this earlier, and a lot of people have driveways that you can't even fit half a car into. So that, taking that out, I agree, is a good thing. But the van accessibility is an issue. I hope nobody in town has one. I haven't really seen one. I've seen a few at the beach. But that's a problem, because also in the ADA regulations, it says you cannot have a space that has a parking space behind you. You need to not be, needs to be free and clear, so the person can walk around, either get in the car to drive the handicapped person, or for that person to be able to pick up a wheelchair and put it in the back of the car. To have two cars butted up against, you can't. I went through this with my parents, so you need to have the space behind the car.
What's really a good point you're raising, and I had not thought of this, and Mr. Cannon, maybe you can give us guidance, is everything you're saying is in the context of ADA compliance. These are technically not ADA
I know,
parking, so,
but
no,
it's just a recommendation.
no, I'm
because-
thinking out loud, like, how do we, for example, I can't imagine we could create 11-foot width.
No, I know, that's what
Right.
I'm thinking. The driveways, there are a lot of driveways in town that are narrow between two houses that aren't shared.
Yeah, so. if
And they
we-
don't have a big backyard either.
So I guess what I'm gonna question is, to keep it simple, trying to follow Mr. Kennett's guidance. If we keep our wording, whether it's no off-street or it's, the chief says. You gotta have a drive, you know, you cannot have a driveway, but can we just create language under what you've, Greg, you've now made this,
Two.
yeah, the new section 2. A2. Can we put some wording in, the applicant must demonstrate they have this no driveway or curb cut, blah, blah, blah. And then we say, unless, something like unless.
The driveway's
Approved
not
by the police department.
I think you'd be fair,
Yeah,
for sure.
because chief, you kind of do that.
I do, I'll send the denial letter,
But you have to make that subjective decision.
yes.
Well, because people have berms on either side of the driveway. You can't get a wheelchair in there.
Right.
You'll either fall out of the wheelchair if you're wheeling that person, they'll fall out. And
Right, yeah.
you know, it's dangerous, and you can't always pull the car into the street to put somebody in a wheelchair.
Now that I know I can't get a spot in front of my house, do I have to sweat?
So,
So that's my recommendation. It's those vans, they require a huge amount of space.
yeah,
And that's for a person that can handle it themselves.
yeah. No,
Okay,
we're trying to accommodate this. This is a courtesy. No one, there's no legal requirement to offer these spaces to anyone, but to the extent we're trying
you
to,
know, but
we've got to
you're not
accommodate.
at the beach, so that would be a little discrimination, don't you think?
We're taking, what do you mean?
You have handicapped spaces at the beach.
They're not parking, that's big. Oh, yeah, those are,
That's the spaces.
yeah, but that's required.
I know, but it should be required for everybody, and that would be fixed. I know you're,
Not in residential neighborhoods, for
That's- yeah.
individual, like, people.
Yeah.
It's count
No.
Yeah, it's so many things.
it's okay. But thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thanks. Oh, hold on. Yes, sir. So many things.
John Sisak, 412 Eighth Avenue, resident, 38 years. Okay, you've only seen me here 3 times, this is the 3rd time. I'm here because of this. I've had it up here with this. Okay, pointed out some of the inconsistencies to be nice, on McCabe Avenue. Couple of those 3, I believe it's 4 actually, not 3, not together, there's a little space and then there's another. Up of that with a stop sign yellow, with a fire hydrant yellow, 3 space 4. It's a scam. The one on the corner, is a rental. I took pictures and I brought this up before Memorial. And it was already said, I said, we'll deal with it at the end of the year. We said it coming up at the end of the year. But look, Bradley's a place where everybody comes. Okay, we gotta make a space for people to come. Okay, when I bought my house doesn't have a drive. Doesn't matter what happens to me in my life, my house don't have a drive. If we had the property and availability or space, I'd say, go for it. Give those people what they need. We don't have it. I pay taxes. I pay the same taxes that a person that's handicapped pays. You're discriminating against me. I come home on Memorial Day weekend. Okay, 10 o'clock at night, I drive down the street and those 3 houses, 4 houses are empty. I park in there and Chief Arnold's guys will come and give me a ticket as they should. It's not fair. Okay, it's not fair. It's a scam. We've gone through this a few times. I've had a couple of people come up because I bring it up. Oh, yeah, my grandmother, you know, that was her space. She died a few years ago, but we still keep it because we got a space in front of the house. Okay, we know it's going. We don't have to keep going through all this, yeah. You're making more work for yourself. I'm sitting here listening to beach boxes. That's kind of crazy. This is even worse. This is self-inflicted. Our guys should be doing police work. Honestly, the chief shouldn't. This guy's doing a great job. By the way, you guys do a great job. Again, I love my town. I love everything about it. But this just pushed me to the edge. You know, that and the yellow paint, the guy with the yellow paint who paints curbs here, really, you need a supervisor to walk around and start looking at all this yellow paint. Is it really needed? I came here with Gary Engelstad was here. Because they painted the curbs from the corner 25 feet in. I don't know if anyone recalls that. That's the last time you saw me here. And then they thought about it and said, hey, that really wasn't a good idea. And they backed up. Never heard from me again. Issue, action. Okay. We need action. It's a nice thing to do. I spoke with the mayor and I said, hey, I come to you with a solution. Memorial Day to Labor Day. I'm sorry, we can't give that to you. We can't. Bradley Beach can't afford it. Okay, I counted today approximately 90 spaces from Ocean Avenue to Main Street on McCabe, on the north side of McCabe are available. 90. When we just kicked around the number, I think when we talked, we were talking like 70 of those spaces originally. And now you say it's down to like 45 or whatever, but even that, think about that. You can't park from here, halfway down McCabe Avenue to the beach. There's no parking. But yeah, we want everyone to come to our town. We're worried about people using the beach box. You gotta, all these spots that are for people
And again, a lot of these people don't even live here. And for, you know, the chief to sit here and go, and there's no way he's gonna sit there and go like this and go, is he really handicapped? I have a son who's a doctor. If I need a handicap spot, help my back. I got one. We all know the doctor. Doctors is waiting. I used to work for the Port Authority, believe me. I've seen a million doctors nose to their bones. Okay, and they're just trying to help you out. But we gotta take it seriously. And you bang yourself, you know, you're banging your head against the wall, trying to make this little thing, that little, well, what if this guy's got this kind of driveway or this guy? At the end of the day, we can't afford to do it. It's nice, we're doing a nice thing, it's a great gesture. Nobody wants to be that person. I don't wanna be that person, but you know what? This one's an easy one. I'm dealing with Airbnbs that come in with 5 and 6 cars next door to me. I'm dealing with neighbors that got driveways that park their cars out in the street also. Just because they don't want no one cramping their driveway. Okay, that's the reality for people who live on, I'll call it the north side. People on the south side with the big houses and the big driveways, they probably don't deal with any of that stuff. But this is what we do. You come home at night and you can't find parking. It's that simple. We don't have the space to give up. It's not that you're being a bad person, but you need to represent the whole town. Every tax-paying person in this town deserves equal treatment. If there's no ADA requirement, you said, we shouldn't be doing it. Save yourself the paper, save this gentleman the heartache of having to send his guys out measuring driveways. Is this guy, is he not, or reading documents? Is this guy stubbed toe or broken back? Wait, no, he's not a doctor. He's a police officer. Shouldn't have to be doing this. Make it easy on yourself. And again, I feel sorry for anyone who's sick. I'm not trying to be heartless, but John, Councilman Weber, you made an excellent point. Bradley Beach for everybody. It always has.
Well, don't you think, like, we're tightening it up? I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't think we're gonna get rid of it completely. But we're tightening it up. We're getting rid of all the abuses with these changes. I mean, it's the path we're on.
Right, and in fairness, John, and I agree, and the mayor has done a great job. He's been in contact with me, and that's why I have not bothered him since we first, and the chief, we talked early on. But I sit and listen. And again, if these people wanna do this, they're gonna do it. Again, I have personal knowledge of people who are scamming. And it's terrible for those people who really need it. But that's what's happened. Okay, that's what's happened. And you're not representing me if you're gonna sit and give out these spaces to other people. Are they gonna pay extra tax money for it? I bought a house with no space. What? No one's gonna come revisit, 6 months for a hurt arm or whatever it is that you got. No one's gonna follow up on that. We don't have people in this town who can't even follow the beach boxes. It's not a knock, but it's true. Let's be honest with everybody in here. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And the chief's not gonna go through that. He shouldn't. He shouldn't. So don't bring it on yourself. We should probably move on, Mr. Sissick, just to give others a chance.
Thank you very much. Again, you guys do a great job.
Thank you for your
Can I
comment.
ask a question? How do we have the chronic annual continuation if they expire even?
They renew.
So there are people who are renewing them
Every year.
legitimately or?
Yeah.
So they come back,
Yeah.
they'll have their handicap placard from the state, once they get a doctor's note within the 90 days. The property's reviewed again, and then it's renewed.
So these are still legitimately done.
Yeah, that's not changing. Mr. Kenny?
First, 216 Brindley. It's very interesting listening, to your points here, and one of the problems I think is really, really bad in this town. And I hope that these last 2 workshops tonight is there's no process. And there may be a process, but it's just like, as Shani just said, well, do you renew, or is it auto renew, or does it go here? Is it a car? Do they live here? We do an awful job. Really understanding of everything that goes through, like the fact that we couldn't answer how many of these beach lockers were non-residents. That should be a number, right? Somebody gets a beach locker, who is it? What's your name? Where's your address? Even if it's out of town, but we should know what that is. So why don't we keep track of these?
Mr. Kennedy, we know, but we know the data is flawed, so I can give you a number, but
This
it's
is my
flawed.
point. But why do we keep accepting flawed data?
Well, that example, because we
Well,
don't,
but it's my point.
no, it's just not in fairness, we get an application and somebody's put on a beach locker waiting list and they say, I live in Ocean Grove. And that's okay right now. They're
No,
allowed,
but that's exactly my
But
point.
no,
Right
but
now,
no,
it's okay.
but
But
now,
next time you sign up for lockers, have them show a license, an address, things, and you've got it.
there was no need for that previously. Now there may be.
But well, there obviously is because we're doing it time.
No,
Well,
there's a need if we move forward with discriminating in favor of residents.
this has nothing to do with discriminating.
We
We're
could-
talking about the process.
Go ahead, but if you want to use examples, we got a million examples of process that's flawed. Just don't use the beach lockers because the beach
Okay, well,
lockers.
I'm gonna move over to whatever the designated.
Go
spots
ahead,
are.
please. Please.
Okay, I walked through the town the other day because I read the thing. I looked, I saw 4 different yellow curves. All right, I know who lives in 4 of those houses. And I asked, I said, why does that person have that yellow curve? Oh, a long time ago, the caretaker of the mother who passed away had that spot, and it's still there.
I have pointedly asked the chief that question, and he says every year our chief of police does that evaluation. And what you just said, I'm told does not happen. So chief, would you
They
care
have
to
to
respond?
provide their license, their state issued placard that has to be up to date and not expired. Their registration card, which is a handicap card issued by the DMV. The doctor's note, that is all verified every single year for every spot.
Okay. All right,
And I do it personally.
okay.
Yes, Ms. Meadow.
You're already exasperated.
No, but we're trying to fix things that are broken. No one's gonna sit here and say things aren't broken. It's just,
I would not argue with that,
no, but we just need clarity. The chief and I have had that very discussion.
that I exasperated.
No, that we check this every year.
Not even going there.
Go ahead, please.
Nancy Meadow, Ocean Park condominiums. I don't want to even get into which side of this issue I'm on. But you're opening a Pandora's box that's gonna go further. So my concern is, or what I guess I just would like to point out. This isn't only a police or code issue or kindness or not kindness issue. This also involves the land use board. Because when homes, especially the new ones are built. And they're getting bigger. And not only deeper, but also wider. The driveways shrink. And I can point this out because on my block, there were 2 new buildings that went up, 2 new homes. And there was some, I don't remember the details, but an altercation with the older homes and the neighbors that live there. So. They built their home according to whatever variance they could get. And they put planters lining up the driveway. So that the elderly person who lived in that home could no longer use the driveway. Now, I don't know how that all complicates the issues of driveway, not driveway issue, you know, they get a yellow thing, they don't. I have no idea. But again, it opens the next level, if you wanna say up or down, with variances. You know, we can't deal with, you know, people and their altercations or this and that, or spite. But I think that that's, I know nothing about the land use board, you really don't want to. But whoever gives guidance or strategic planning, or, you know, whatever you wanna say, I think this needs to be part of considerations. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen.
Excellent news board.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. I just want to comment on the driveway. Actually, the land use board extended the driveways to 1 foot off the property line where it used to be 3 feet, enabling larger driveways in terms of width. So that ordinance change, which was done by the council a couple years ago. So I just want to set the record straight on that. I just have a little story. When I was 15, I learned how things worked. At the Spring Lake Country Club, they only had 20 golf carts. Then they had a huge push when the temperature got to be 85. There were not enough golf carts. Now, I was a 15-year-old kid standing next to the caddy master. I have this guy's bag. The guy says, I don't want to take a caddy, I want to take a cart. Caddy master says, well, you need a letter from your doctor in order for me to give you a cart, because it's so hot, we don't have enough carts. Guy went into the men's locker room, came out with a letter, handed it to the caddy master. Caddy master said, this is from your endodontist. He goes, it just says I have to have it from my doctor. So people look for ways around. I just happen to learn at a very young age. I don't really like the process. I understand some people need it. I want to compliment this board from a land use perspective. Okay, and reducing the number of these handicap spaces, and I feel horrible for people who don't have driveways, who have to look at empty spaces over and over. And I appreciate that people in the audience are concerned about the people in the vans for their access, but I just want to know who the guy is with the Corvette that's parks in the handicap parking space, because I'm dying to see that guy. But anyway, I want to share something with you from the 2003 master plan. The reexamination is referenced in the 2014 master plan, where it states the reexamination, several recommendations for the borough. So I'm going to read number 7. Update parking standards in the Borough Land Development Ordinance in accordance with New Jersey State Residential Improvement Standards. Continuing recommendations. Although amendments have been made to the borough's parking standards, it is recommended that the borough continue to evaluate the parking ordinance in order to mitigate parking shortages in certain areas. Well, I don't even think it's certain areas. I think it's all areas. But what you're doing tonight is part of a parking plan to mitigate the problems we have by creating the opportunity for more spaces. I do believe this is a privatization of a public asset. Now, I understand some people need it, but the changes you're making are very important. So I would like to then reference the master plan review from June of 2018. Recommendations, this is again, recommendations. It's a continuing theme. So this is now 2018. Continue to evaluate the parking ordinance in order to mitigate parking shortages in certain areas. This recommendation remains valid. So if you can create 20 spaces, that's a benefit. And I believe it should be included in the next update of the master plan, because the council is attempting to create more parking opportunity for the people who need it. I just have a couple other comments. I'm not crazy about the recommendations that Mr. Camden made. I do agree with the chief that it'd be better we leave it in there about the driveway. And what I'm concerned about is when you say access, there's some apartment buildings and mixed multifamily houses that have a space in front, but they have a driveway with parking in the back. So did that tenant not get parking? I mean, it's not our job to create parking on the street for the tenants. If there is parking with the facility, the landlord should take that into account for his handicapped tenants. That's what I would do. Also, this magic sticker, I've never seen one. I've driven around the town on my bike. Where are the stickers? There's supposed to be a sticker with this program, but I've never seen it. Never seen it on a vehicle, and it's only supposed to be one vehicle. It's not supposed to be 2 or 3 vehicles. Hey, that's our space. We're just gonna park there. If you're doing it for one person specifically handicapped, it should be only for that person.
My understanding, chief, is it is one
It
sticker.
is 1 car, 1 sticker, 1 person.
One sticker, one registration, and can you bring the stickers in as little you know,
Show my know.
I'd love to see one because I can't find them on these cars. But that's that's all I have, but I want to thank you all for taking this on. If you can reduce the number and make it for year-round resident, it is horrible based on the previous commenters that to see these spaces just empty. It's an asset to the borough. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments in the audience? Seeing none on Zoom, let's. I knew these were gonna be very long workshops. They're very important workshops. We welcome all the feedback. We recognize so many flaws that exist. We are clear in terms of data tracking and we are trying to do better. My goal entering tonight was to have all this dialogue and then hopefully introduce an ordinance. I think there's been enough questions raised and enough conversation that I'm gonna recommend we don't try to introduce an amended ordinance tonight. But when we get to that, we can table it and take a crack at making updates and then revisit this at our next meeting, if you all agree. So with that said, we'll close the workshops and now hopefully we'll move very quickly through the rest of the agenda. Moving to item number 7, approval of minutes. I'll make a motion that we approve the October 6th, 2025 council business meeting minutes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes, but can I point out that on this agenda, it says October 6th and the meetings were on the 7th.
Oh, geez, thank
They're
you.
right on they're right on the minutes.
No, you're right. Yeah, no, I got it.
Agenda is good. I
Thank
vote
you.
yes.
Thank you. Mayor Kubatozzi.
Yes. I'll make a motion that we approve the October 6th, 2025 executive session minutes, October 7th executive session.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Kubatozzi.
Yes. We do have an ordinance introduction. It's a relatively minor record keeping type of amendment. But it's ordinance 2025-36, updating our construction codes. Our new construction official, Brian Curry, identified a handful, 5 or 6 areas where our fees were not consistent with where they needed to be with relative to the uniform construction code. So this amendment represents his recommended edits. I'll make a motion that we approve introduction of 2025-36.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Kubatozzi.
Yes, and I'm sorry, everyone, I skipped public comments.
They're.
The agenda again.
So obviously the public's been talking a lot, but limited to our workshops. So let me backtrack and ask, are there public comments regarding any items on the agenda? And yes, Ms. Meadow. I want to see if I could get away with it, and I did.
Nancy Meadow, Ocean Park condominiums. I'd like to discuss the bill list, which I've bitten my tongue on for about 10.5 months. But there's a lot here. Specific question on page 5, there's a small disbursement to Hager Lumber. It says it's for the mayor's office. Is that?
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay, so it's my understanding that that's really not, that changes are really, that's for the Neptune court using our facilities office.
It's the court office, yes.
Okay,
It's Neptune.
so
Yeah.
there's already a contradiction.
Well, wait, it's like, it's considered the mayor's office now, you're gonna turn it into.
Okay, the
it's
money
officially
we're
now.
spending,
Okay, it's no longer.
Okay, sorry.
it's my understanding that the money we're spending is not for our mayor, whoever that may be. It's money we are spending to have revenues because Neptune's going to use us as their place of court. So, there's an error. You might call it semantics, I call it a bigger problem in looking at what Mr. Kenny, I forget the word he used, I think might have been operations, I'll call them protocols. I'll call them doing P&Ls and balance sheets correctly. But the bottom line is, we don't, and we the people don't get to see revenues. And we're rarely presented with any part of the business of P and Ls. So I think it's important, especially since this is a new category in operation, that whoever did this should have done it properly. And I will go as far to say that once again, we're in a supervisory problem.
It's been a, what, you said page 5, I'm just looking for this.
It's a small amount of money.
Am I on the right page? No, I don't know.
I'm on page 5, it's the reference to the mayor's office, is
Yeah,
Jager
it's-
Lumber Supply. Jager Lumber,
But where's, like, my pages aren't, on, so I'm just counting, I'm saying, one.
yeah.
Did I make it up?
J.
No, you do. It's 5 on the one I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I did look 3 times.
Where do you page numbers, John?
Oh, it's up at the
Oh, you
top left.
guys are cheating, you got these,
We're cheating.
the paper doesn't have page numbers.
Well, not all of us have paper.
Cheating.
No, only me, apparently.
Well,
I just wanna find it, so like, we
you
can
wanna
follow
pick
them.
my ink?
Nope, we got
Mayor's
it,
office.
okay, 228.75, okay.
Yeah, just like saying
We'll
that.
we'll bring this to,
Yeah.
Mr. Doherty's attention, and hopefully we
But
can read
it's a
it.
symptom
Understood,
or a result of a bigger problem. The same way, like I was told that for the police department, we don't have vehicle supplies, we only have maintenance. That went back a couple of months ago with their mounts for whatever equipment they needed. The same way something was billed out on that same bill list in August's emails, but apparently it was something regarding getting emails for Oprah accounts. I'm just saying that, and I can go on and on and on, but I will not. That, okay, we're recognizing that we fall short in operations. But I would also like to recognize we're not making progress. Now, maybe internally you think we are. But I will just say externally, I do not see where we're cleaning any of this up. And it's discouraging to me who feels that there are so many employees, new and old, that are allowed to proceed, I won't even use the word work, proceed with the same bad habits. Thank you.
thank you. Other comments or questions? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, seeing none. We'll get back to the agenda. We've already introduced ordinance 2025-36. Item 10 on the, I'm sorry,
Did we
20,
approve that?
yeah, there's
Your
the
second,
special parking, 2025-37. I'm gonna make a motion that we table this vote until a subsequent meeting.
Second,
Mr. Noble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Communications, there are none.
Wait, what happened to 36? You made a motion to.
Yeah, you introduced it.
I did it and then I went backwards.
Well, I know, but then there's like discussion, we're not discussing, or.
Not an introduction.
Okay.
That's for.
I just wanted to make a mention about it on that 36. Last time Councilwoman Greenblatt brought up the fact that there was not one of the parts that we were changing, but it said something about a permit for a 6-foot fence, and she asked.
She's satisfied.
You, well, because I did not get a good answer to that. I asked those folks that,
Okay,
redevelopment folks, and I couldn't get an answer to that. And then by the time I asked Matt, Matt was gone, Matt's on vacation, so.
okay, I just have an
saying-
answer.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. So Brian Ferry not only put this in writing, but just to make sure, I ran into him in the hallway, coming into the meeting, he confirmed my understanding, Shana, that you and I discussed. Council, okay, I'll get it straight. Councilwoman Greenblatt raised the question in our last meeting about a fee for $75 for fences in excess of 6 foot. Her question was just, is this ambiguous? Should the wording be clearer? Because fences shouldn't be in excess of 6 feet unless they need a variance. Does this apply? Does it not apply? Do you pay the fee on top of it? A lot of really good questions came down to a very simple answer. I'll say unfortunately, because it was kind of anticlimactic, but Brian Curry's answer, he's our construction official, he said, in this particular ordinance, it's a list of permitting fees for construction. He puts blinders on and says, he follows the uniform construction code, and there's very specific language specifically regarding 6-foot fences. He said he doesn't look at it with regards to whether zoning variances apply or whether it's for different types of construction, like is it residential construction versus a screen for garbage or whatever. He doesn't care about any of that. In his world, he charges $75 if a fence is over 6 feet. It's that simple.
Okay, so it sounds like that would only be allowed if somebody got a variance, but he's not.
Yeah, that's out of his domain. He doesn't care. So like I say, it's a little.
Because my question
anticlimactic.
was more like, do we even allow that? And he just said, no, you don't, they would need a variance, and then I would charge him $75, but he did, that's not what he told me.
No, I know.
Alright. Just a comment I wanted to make on that.
All right. One would think we could get through these agendas quickly, but it seldom happens. I'm gonna make a motion that we move the 2 consent agenda resolutions to individual, just so John, to your point, last meeting, we could identify these folks separately. So make a motion that we move it to individual resolutions.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. Individual resolution number 1, 2025-320. We are acknowledging the hiring of a probationary firefighter appointment, Dane Windbrandt. I make a motion that we approve that resolution.
Okay.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes, and welcome Dane Windbrandt. And Mr. Weber, you can make that comment again a little later.
Sure.
Individual resolution 2025-321. I'll make a motion that we approve the appointment of cadet junior firefighter Leah Kern.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. 2025-322, authorizing the 2026 fireworks display, right? This should be next year. Okay, 2026 fireworks display contract with Starfire Corporation. It's in the amount of $18,000. It was $15,000 last year. I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
So I had asked, I just wanted to give a little bit of a backstory to my approval for this. I will say yes and approve it, but I just want to point out, this is $18,000 that's coming out of the beach utility. So it's good that it's coming out of the beach utility. However, it's a lot of money to spend. And I just hope the community continues to really want to have these fireworks. I know fireworks is a big July 4th tradition. And everybody loves fireworks, or many people love fireworks, but it's a lot of money that gets spent from our coffers. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm not gonna make a point of it. I just wanted to state that $18,000 is a lot of money. So anyway, and with that, I'm saying yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes, the fireworks were big this year. They're really good.
Mayor Gubatose?
The answer is yes, and just for the record, we did request 3 proposals. Others, the date is not July 4th, it's July 2nd. And Shawna, you'll be happy to know that the July 4th pricing was substantially higher. So while 18,000 is a good amount of money, it would have been a lot worse if we could afford July 4th, or if it was available. It was also not available. Okay, 2025-323, I'll make a motion that we approve. Well, first of all, any comments or questions about the borough Halloween curfew?
No.
No questions, comments? I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-323, approving the borough Halloween curfew for 2025.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. 2025-324, appointing a fire marshal or / fire official. Any comments or questions? I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-324.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. 2025-325, approving a shared service agreement renewal with the Borough of Avon by the Sea for municipal court services. 2 seconds of explanation. Avon has been with us for 3 years. This is renewing for another 3-year contract. we bumped their pricing and they accepted this, a little over 5% per year. Well, 5% the first year and exactly 5% in the second year and slight tab under 40,000. It goes from 38,000 this year, 40,000 next year, 42,000 and 44,000. So with that said, I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-325.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Item individual resolution 2025-326 is the appointment of for Patsy White as deputy court administrator. One, Patsy is qualified for this role. She's an existing employee, with the borough. She's passed exams. And most importantly, it's a requirement for us to have a deputy court administrator, a second, joining Todd, in order to take on the Neptune City Court. So I'll make any comments or questions. I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-326.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. And finally, the bill list 2025-327. Are there any items or that you'd want to vote out separately or any comments or questions? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-327, the bill list for October 21st.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Item 12, announcements, there are none. Item 13A, the administrator report, there is no administrator, no, Matt Doherty is vacationing in, he's visiting his daughter in Ireland. I don't think, he did just provide Amy Hall with some updates for her newsletter. Anyone who's interested in, the status of a couple of our, infrastructure projects, Mr. Doherty provided that in the newsletter, since he wasn't going to be with us tonight. 13B, mayor and council reports. Let me start with Council President Jane DeNoble.
Yay, I'm gonna be very quickly, because the Shade Tree doesn't have a meeting till next month. The Board of Ed is actually Thursday, but I do wanna say this Friday at 9:30 AM, the Julie Schreck Maritime Forest will be 4 purple martin birdhouses richer. The school, the Bradley Beach Elementary School, will be putting these up with their environmental club, and you're more than welcome to watch these birdhouses be erected. So it's very nice. That's the rest stop for birds when they travel down the Atlantic Flyway. So we're very gracious to have that park, and now they're gonna have birdhouses too.
Is there a date?
This Friday.
Friday, they're like installing.
Yes, 9:30.
Right.
Yeah. And the tourism did have a special meeting today at 9 o'clock. And they discussed things they're doing for 2026. So they're gonna expand the Jazz Fest. The World Cup is next year, and there'll be a big celebration for that. And it also is the semi-quincentennial celebration, and they're making plans for that as well. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Nowicki.
First I'll report on the first aid bi-weekly council report. The operational period, October 21st, the squad responded to 15-day calls, 9 night calls for a total of 24 calls, 17 for medical and 7 for fire. The squad provided medical overwatch for Mary's Place walk through Bradley Beach, the Clean Ocean Action Beach Sweep, and the walk and roll for the Bradley Beach Grammar School. The squad conducted 1 drill for the safety and education of the membership. The squad requested 1 mutual aid from Neptune for this operational period, and the squad fulfilled 90% of their assignments for this operational period. They're still looking for volunteers for a first aid squad and for fleet training. See the website for details. And we have a lengthy Bradley Beach Police Department activity report. So bear with me, we'll walk through these. On October 6th, a 50-year-old male from Freehold, New Jersey was arrested on an outstanding contempt of court warrant by Patrolman Sean Johnson and Patrolman Anthony Badalamenti. He was processed and later transported to the Monmouth County Correctional Institute. On October 10th, a 33-year-old male from Asbury Park was arrested on an outstanding contempt of court warrant by Patrolman Edwin Hernandez. He was processed and turned over to the Howell Township Police Department. On October 13th, a 40-year-old male from Bradley Beach was arrested and charged with receiving stolen property and was also found to have contempt of court warrant. Patrolman Daniel Crowe and Patrolman Ian Ambrose stopped Lagville after they observed him riding a Heineken brand bicycle that had been reported stolen from a Bradley Beach resident the day prior. Lieutenant Josephine Solaro and Patrolman Stephen Scott assisted with the arrest. On October 15th, a 34-year-old male from Wall Township was arrested and charged with receiving stolen property by Patrolman Daniel Crowe. A field contact was conducted on Wall Street, and he was found to be in possession of a bicycle and had been reported stolen from Deal, New Jersey. He was processed and later returned over to the Monmouth County Correctional Institute. Sergeant Kevin Gale and Detective Gregory Panza assisted with the arrest. October 17th, a 39-year-old female from Woodbury, New Jersey, was arrested and charged with theft, possession of crack cocaine, and possession of drug paraphernalia as a result of an investigation by Sergeant Michael Tardillo and Patrolman Stephen Scott. On October 18th, a 41-year-old man from Neptune, New Jersey, was arrested and charged with driving under the influence of alcohol by Sergeant William Major. Sergeant Michael Tardillo assisted with the arrest. Between October 6th and October 19th, the Bradley Police Department also investigated one motor vehicle accident and responded to several calls for service. And a reminder, on this Saturday, October 25th, the Bradley Police Department will be participating in the Operation Take Back, which is sponsored by the Drug Enforcement Administration. They'll be collecting unused prescriptions and non-prescription medications between the hours of 10 and 2 at the police department. Just please remove any personal information from the prescription bottles. And then on Sylvan Lake, there was a meeting last week. It was reported that the ocean outfall work is continuing to progress well. And that the permits for the bulkhead replacement along Bradley Boulevard were also submitted last week as well. So progress is being made, moving that forward.
Great.
Thank you. Councilman Weber.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Congrats to the probationary firefighter, Dane Winbrett, and the junior cadet, Leah Kern, even though we said their names earlier. For the Environmental Commission, they have decided they're gonna use a little bit of their money, their stipend for the year, to help the fire department get water bottle refill stations in the firehouse. Apparently, the firefighters, they spend a lot of time there. There's training equipment, like workout equipment, they train there as well. So they go through a lot of single-use water bottles, and they're open to it, and the Environmental Commission is gonna help them out cost-wise. So I think that's a great use of their money, just getting the water bottle filling stations like we kind of have up on the beach. So there might be 2 in a firehouse in the near future. We had the beach sweeps on Saturday. Thank you to people that came out and picked up garbage to help our beaches get clean. We don't have the total, I mean, the data, the trash, it's tracked, and there's like 75 different categories. Couple of highlights, there was 258 bags and wrappers. There were 686 bottle caps, those plastic bottle caps or lids, cigarette butts or cigar tips, 178 food takeout containers, food takeout stuff. This is the kind of stuff we're getting rid of. Let's skip the stuff. Straws, stirrers, cups, forks, knives, 307 of them. So we made our beaches a lot cleaner. A few dozen people came out. I don't have the exact number, but thanks to the people that did. Rona Parker, Dan Bagley, Caroline Davidson, from the Environmental Commission staff at the table. So that was a great day. And I'll say one other thing about that event. There's another event going on. I guess it started in Ocean Grove or Asbury, and it was a walk, but it was their pass through. Like, you know, we get the permit, and it's like, oh, it's just a pass through. I think 10,000 people passed through. It was a massive walk for whatever they were raising money for. So I just want to suggest that in the future, even when it's passed through, we kind of get a sense from the organizers, like, well, how many people are going to pass through? Because like there was a line at our bathrooms, like 10 people deep. And I'm sure there's extra work for our staff that was taking care of the restrooms. So we may want to consider, I don't know what we could do, but we want to know that in the future. So Big pass through. Oh, and then the Environmental Commission wants to encourage everybody to leave their leaves this fall. All sorts of good reasons. We made a post on the Facebook page. We'll try and get it out in other channels, but to leave your leaves, it's good for wildlife and critters and birds that eat critters. And so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Greenblatt.
Great, so I will start with some information that we received from the Monmouth County Board of Commissioners. The Monmouth County Senior Advisory Council will be holding a listening session to hear concerns and needs to successfully aging in place. And this is for area residents, Bradley Beach and other neighboring towns. It's taking place this Friday, October 24th, from 10:30 to noon at the Neptune Township Senior Center. And lunch will also be provided. So that's that. The Arts Council met Monday, October 20th. The Arts Council Sukkah event at Agudath Achim was canceled due to the recent storm. But be sure not to miss our very own Arts Council Gwen Rosenblatt, who will perform on flute and piano at the synagogue's Community Shabbat Project, Saturday, November 8th at 6:30 p.m. All are invited to attend at 309 Fifth Avenue. More details to follow. The next Arts Council meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 3rd, 11 a.m. at the Biasi Center. The public is welcome. Fletcher Lake Commission has not met since the last council meeting. However, there was a Fletcher Lake cleanup this past Saturday. It was a beautiful day and great to see neighbors from both towns working together for the sake of the lake. Look for pictures of the event in this week's CoStar. And many thanks to the DPWs of both Bradley and Neptune for proactively managing the lake level during the recent storm. The next commission meeting will be on November 13th at 6 p.m. in this council chamber. And a somewhat lengthy report for recreation. This is always an opportunity to share recreation's events. Mahjong Open Play runs every Friday, 1 to 3 at the Biasi Center. The Senior Club meets tomorrow, October 22nd at noon. Senior Game Time Tuesdays is back, the first and third Tuesdays of each month. BYOG, bring your own game. And join friends at the Biasi Center for fun and community fellowship. Students in grades 5 through 12 are invited to participate in the Art Club, which runs every Wednesday at 5 p.m. at the Neptune City Community Center. And that's at 117 3rd Avenue across the street from the Stop and Shop. There's also the Glitter and Glue Crew every Tuesday and Thursday morning from 11:30 to 12:15. It's a fun craft group for ages 2 to 5 years old, and all Bradley Beach residents are welcome to these activities at the Neptune Community Center. Don't miss out October 24th for a ghoulish gathering at 4 p.m. on the Evergreen Beach. All ages welcome to this festive Halloween costume contest with music, snacks, and pumpkin chucking. This event will be modified because of the recreation construction, so the pumpkin chucking will take place on the beach. Recreation will be hosting its 4th annual trunk or treat on October 26th. That's this Sunday in the municipal parking lot from 1 to 3 p.m. Bring your children and grandchildren to this festive and safe Halloween event. Construction continues at the rec site as it refurbishes its playground and facility courts, as well as drainage repair and repaving. The work will continue through the fall with limited public access to the facility. The Recreation Committee's next meeting will be Monday, November 17th at 6:30 p.m. And that was my report.
Very good. Thank you, Councilwoman. I'll start with the Mayor's Wellness Walk, which is coming up this Sunday, October 26th at 9 a.m. Anyone who's interested, please try to meet us at the Brindley Avenue Beach entrance. The title of this is Healthy Dog, Healthy You. So especially if you're a dog owner or intending to become one, come check it out and listen to our local resident veterinarian, Dr. Kathleen Heaney. Another important update is a number of us representing Bradley Beach will be meeting with the County Director, Tom Arnone, and a couple of county engineers this Thursday morning, October 23rd. We are going to be visiting the intersection at 4th Avenue and Memorial Drive. Because there have been some very severe accidents there over the past year. There's been a history of accidents there over time. The county does have a traffic calming process underway for Memorial Drive that is intended to span about 3 years. They won't start to take any official action until 2028 in terms of making changes. But we will be meeting Arnone and those engineers, and that, when I say we, Bradley Beach will be represented by myself, Councilman Nowicki, and our chief of police. The Neptune City Mayor will be joining us along with the Neptune City Chief of Police. So we're hoping that we can come up with an interim solution. I've expressed to the director that we do not want to wait until 2028 to hopefully take initiatives that might create a safer intersection for us. Eric, I'm hoping you can help me with this one. I just wanted to let the public know that we have a bid opening planned pretty soon. Is that Thursday? Do you know?
Friday,
Friday.
next Friday.
Okay, so do you have a date then? Do you know offhand?
The 31st.
The 31st, thank you.
54.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but for those interested, October 31st, we have requested bid proposals for renovation of the sewer pump station on Ocean Ave, right next to the children's park there. And as you heard, October 31st, that morning, 10 a.m.
Yes.
10 a.m. So anyone interested and wants to witness our clerk opening bids, are you opening the bids, Erica?
No, those days are long gone, thank you very much.
I thought they might be. But if you're interested, you know, that we will be opening bids at that time. So that concludes my comments, and let us now move to public comments or questions. Any public comments or questions? Nancy, is this the trifecta for you?
Nancy Meadow, I know it's been hours, but I still have not moved on the Ocean Park condominiums. Mr. Weber, I couldn't agree more. We need to do something about these pass-through events. I've been saying it forever. So maybe now, somebody, glad you brought it up.
This one was particularly big, I've noticed.
I think if there's 10 people, we need to swear and tear on our world. Ms. Greenblatt. Fireworks, not only a waste of $18,000, in my personal opinion, they're bad for the environment. I've been saying that for years too. Mayor Gubitosi
Oh,
and public. For years, and I do not know how many years, but I know it's in excess of 3 years. I have tried to obtain unsold beach badges, which the library uses as decorative ornaments as a fundraiser. No one in those years helped me or got back to me. I mentioned it to Mayor Gubitosi. Within 3 weeks, I think I was given over $1,000 worth of beach badges that were not sold. They're now in the hands of the library. They will be selling wreaths and Christmas trees with the little tags on them. And you can even buy a wreath, take the ribbon off, and put a little beachy one on it, and it's a 12-month thing. So along with Mr. Kenny, thank you for that, first of all. And along with Mr. Kenny's comments about our operations or lack thereof, I say to you all, why do we have so many unsold badges? There's obviously a problem with the process. And I'm not just talking the weekly ones that we knew were gonna be a loser. And what can we do in the future so that I don't need to be involved? And the mayor certainly has better things to do than this. And maybe that's why he puts in more time than necessary. So as soon as those badges are returned, they're not put in the garbage, but they're given to our borough. Doesn't matter if the tax is the library. Okay, it's one of those instances where we are working together. So, don't say uh-oh sometimes. And then to those of you, because I don't think we have a meeting until Thursdays from now. So for those of you that are running to serve the public, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Anyone on Zoom? I see no hands. I will make a motion to, there is no executive session. I will make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Without meeting.
We're meeting to.